there's an area where... My name's Joe Biden. I'm running for, in this case, running for President of the United States. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other person. I just spoke at Dartmouth on health care at the medical school, or not, I guess I wasn't actually on the campus, but people from the medical school were at the... I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts. I'm not sure whether it was a medical school or where the hell I spoke, but it was on the campus. I want to thank Rich Fitzgerald, the county executive, Allegheny County executive, for being here. And I propose, and I'm going to digress slightly. We're in a situation. The president asked me to head up a cancer moonshot.
President Biden, just to be clear, would you or would you not rejoin the TPP, yes or no?
I would not rejoin the TPP as it was initially put forward. In Guatemala, El Salvador, and to go in and say in Honduras and say, look, I know I'm called middle class, Joe. It's not meant as a compliment. Means I'm not sophisticated. And there's an area where there's an important difference between this and there's an important difference between the candidates. I'm running. The country wasn't built by Wall Street bankers, CEOs, and hedge fund managers. This guy is moving to just foment hate. The price for whatever the drug costs are. Well, folks, eliminate one tax loophole out of $1.6 trillion worth, $1.4 trillion worth. Out of $1.4 billion. It's hard to even say it, it's so much. And by the way, it's cost a lot of money. It cost about $740 billion over 10 years. Every single solitary person qualified in community college, increasing the number of 6 to 9 million people. If you like your employer-based policy, you can keep that policy. If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330 and help me in this fight. Ronnie Parker's campaign, pick up your phones. Pick up your phone. Now, send a text to the word United to the number 30330. 30330 or 303-330. Or BOO, wait. You got it. It's out the back there. Now he's feeling the pressure of an economy that's teetering on a recession. To say that LGBTQT people have no civil rights. And immediately changed the law in the state of Delaware protecting transgender people. I took on Putin in terms of Iraq. In terms of what was going on in Ukraine. My long friend, time friend, and she's a friend. She's been my friend in and out of public life. It will cost 1/30. 1/30. Costs a lot of money. Almost $740 billion is what I want to do. Not $30 trillion. Not $30 trillion. Among many qualified people, I'm the best qualified person for this job. And the reason is not just to help people who have or in fact are like to get Alzheimer's. Because think of what's been adopted. Milton Friedman's notion that the only obligation. That all changed for the Republican friends in the late 80s when they adopted Milton Friedman's notion that the only obligation. We find ourselves in a position where you're in a circumstance where we've adopted Milton Friedman's notion of conservative economists. Now, if in fact you are in a position, what was the case? You worked for Jimmy. That's why we're so special. It took courage. It took resilience. They know who we are. We have to let them know who we are. We can do it, and it's going to take billions of dollars to do it, and we can afford to do it. We can't afford not to do it. Cut in half the number uninsured of the Asian American Pacific Islander community. Cut in half. Don't worry, I'm so serious. Children, I love to hear them. Well, President Trump and the demagogues around the world. Donald Trump is re-elected. So people are figuring out there's not a damn thing we can do. We can't really set our mind. The single most stressed I was asked to speak to the American Psychiatric Association, to go over to the University of London to speak to the World Psychiatric Association. It's interesting. I just spoke to the International Society of Psychiatric International This is not a Republican talking point. The Republicans are trying to kill Obamacare. Union workers, the UAW took incredible cuts in their future. Now we have $1.6 trillion worth of loopholes in the law. But I never thought that I'd see what I saw in Charlotte. You know, I came home from law school. Avoid having an excuse to walk by the deal and say, no, I'm not going to be a mule. I got something to do. I got to go do boom, boom, boom. If we just were to reinstill the cafe standards. And I think Secretary, excuse me, I wasn't the press going to say I'm downgrading by calling him Senator Booker. The fact is that the bills that the future president here, that the senator's talking about, I was the one that suggested to the president, President Obama, I don't want to confuse presidents here. Look, we provide a Medicare option. That's exactly what Barack and I talked about in the beginning. Couldn't get it through, though. So I couldn't tell anybody but Barack. He's one of my closest friends. Invaded another country and annexed a significant portion of it called Crimea. Right. He's saying that it was my boss, it was his fault. I got assault weapons banned for 10 years. It had to be reauthorized because of hanging chads in Florida. The last president said, no, I'm not going to reauthorize it. We need to work again with Canada and Mexico as neighbors, not as adversaries. Saks or Benettons or Nike or whatever in the market, in their places where the malls. Donald Trump does pose an excellent threat to this. It's not hypothetical. We can put every one of them in school, cutting in half the cost of a four-year education. Why they do that? I ran the what they call the moonshot, dealing with cancer, and something after that set up the Biden Cancer Initiative. And here's the point: the conservative columnist, and they say, "You take my shotgun." I said, "I have three. I now have five because my son died, and I have three of his. I have 5 shotguns." Also have a mechanism to control drug prices. You know, it's not. We're no longer using chemical-based things. All this thing is really with cancers and other issues relating to the immune system or bioorganic. And by the way, the idea that NATO, the only people who entitled to rewards are stockholders. Ladies and gentlemen, he is deliberately and completely ignoring the legitimate authority of Congress, and he's doing what he does with the complicity. Stop trying to keep your workers organized. About all these breakthroughs we have with the whole immune system. I want you to know, if you look at PolitiFacts, we're no longer the wealthiest middle class in the world. It means investing much more in medical research to conquer devastating diseases like cancer and addiction and Alzheimer's. The opportunities are amazing. We are in a position to be able to lead the world like we've never been able to do it before. I mean, they're not bad votes, folks. But guess what? I found that the Secretary, we sat together in many meetings. There's things that are worth doing with China. What presidents say matter. We also know we need teachers. My wife is a full-time teacher, taught all during being vice president. High-quality options. The public option will be available in my plan. We'll make sure it's not quality. We'll make sure it's only affordable. Quality is affordable. Not the end in themselves. Mischaracterizes my position across the board. Not those of us running for president alone. Not just activists like you. You know how many tax loopholes there are in the code now? $1.640 trillion. Eliminate one. How can a person dignity be maintained? We choose truth over facts. You ever heard a president of the United States talk about law enforcement like he does today? I oversaw, as the chairman of the Judiciary Committee a long time, the FBI. Look what he talks about. But we lead by the example of our power, not just the power, not just the example of power, but the example. We are out there, and it's what we say. By strengthening, we have to eliminate the funding gap that exists between minority white and majority white and non-white districts. The fact of the matter is, I'm awfully sophisticated about why, how, and who built this country. Let me say this simply and clearly. They're not national assets. Wall Street bankers, CEOs, hedge fund managers, no matter how good and decent they are, they're not the ones who built this country. That triumph of democracy and liberalism, of fascism and autocracy. When I got out of school, when Bobby Kennedy and Dr. King had been assassinated in the 70s, late 70s, when I got engaged. I'm going to publicly apologize for not being able to make it. We don't even love them. That's who we are. No other nation was founded the way we are. We hold these truths self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, endowed by their Creator. No nation has ever been founded on that principle. That was a time in the late 60s, the early 60s and 60s where it was drop out, go to Haight-Ashbury. We can do this by making sure that we're in a position that we, in fact, allow people. Time's up. I agree that everybody, once they, in fact, they should. Anyway, my time's up. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Vice President.
But here's the deal, folks. Well, I think it shouldn't matter where your race. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. We can speak out and be more straightforward. Senator it's not about, I know you're supporting by saying booing, but look, here's the deal. You don't have here in Miami, in Florida. You don't have it here, and that is, if you keep an audience, that's why I'll end the gag rule, the global gag rule, that prevents money from getting to NGOs. In terms of the Ku Klux Klan and white supremacy. And if we give Donald Trump 4 more years, we'll have a great deal of difficulty, if ever, being able to. I looked at it anyway. That's what I think my plan. I know what my plan does. Such as de-escalation studies have, there have been de-escalation studies. The reason I did what I'm doing is because there's an invasion of Hispanics. She has an expression. She teaches full-time and has taught full-time. She taught full-time as a second lady. She taught 15 credits a semester. She's never stopped teaching. She's going back in 2 weeks to teach as well, to continue to teach. 65 out of every 100 jobs today require training beyond high school. 65 out of every 100. $30 trillion. It makes it far more durable, reliable, and powerful. Partnerships built on coercion. And Lisa, you have been a great friend for a long time. And your Paul son is remarkable. They also got that last year. And for folks in the working class that are below 400, they will, in fact, increase their premiums. Will increase the generosity of the premium tax credit they now get. They go to school from a middle class or upper middle class, and house, having heard, the estimates are as many as 4 million more words spoken. The next thing we got to do here along the line to report people's dignity, restore it. The most powerful military, not hyperbole, most powerful military in the history of the world. That's not hyperbole. Which we as a society talk about one another. The way we've always look. My wife, who is a teacher, she's teaching now. She's back in the classroom at a community college where she teaches in Northern Virginia. Things changed. You had over 40 kids shot in Kent State on a beautiful lawn by the National Guard. There are a whole lot of things, and guess what? For most of the people at the time, the people of color, for women, farm ownership and cooperating loan and operating loan. I remember sometimes when my dad was restless, my mom would say, because our rooms are next to one another, I'd say, the next morning, what's wrong? I said, your dad can't sleep. He's just staring at the ceiling thinking, what happens? We have to start rewarding work, not just wealth. The first speech stood up. The chancellor, the former chancellor of Germany, stands up. She says, we have to go it alone. International leaders spoke about it. You had people like you had people like the former chairman and leader of the party in Germany. You had Angela Merkel stand up and say how terrible it was. I mean, well, look, this is beyond the scope of anything remotely what we've seen before. We provide efficiency for appliances. That saves billions of gallons of gasoline. I mean, billions of $2.3 billion worth of, $500 billion in savings and 2-point-something billion metric tons of CO2 going in the air, where an overwhelming number of...
Hello, everybody. We're back. How are you all doing? Sorry, I haven't been streaming that much recently. Let me turn that up. I haven't been streaming that much recently, which is mainly because I had exams, but those are done. So I have no obligations and I can stream as much as I usually do, which is exciting. So yeah, my exams went very well. ENTP Joker.
Hope your exams went well.
I think that the Joker would have been INTJ. I'm not gonna lie. Hold on. Who else? The coal mine. Thank you for the 7 months. Let me move this around. Who else subbed in the break or at the start? That's it, I think. Yeah. There's a new QAnon Anonymous episode that I'm on, which is cool. It's the most recent one. And it is with an interview with Matt Christman, which is cool. I think it went well. Big brain. Yeah, it was good to have a convo with Matt about his, ideas, etc. He's an interesting guy. So maybe we can watch some newer Kush vlogs and see. I've also been watching them quite a bit, as we've seen on the stream. So I was more familiar with Matt's stuff than the other hosts. Can you explain why desire isn't a lack? For Deliz, I'm fairly impartial in it, in that divide, but basically for Deliz, desire is far more than your conscious intellect. Cops. Fidel Clanco, thank you for the 3 months. It's far more than simply your conscious intellect. We feel a desire. Desire as a lack is you want something in the world, and you can track this. It's your conscious intellect. My camera looks better. Yeah, I don't know why. I think it's honestly my. Hey Chelsea, how's it going? I think it's my new computer for some reason. I don't know why, because it's the same camera that I've been using for the last year. I think I'm getting better at lighting. That's mainly it. But yeah, it's desire as a lack is your conscious intellect being
bad cops.
I want a thing. There is something in the world that makes it less than whole, and I want to change that. I want to fill that hole, so to speak. The Bell Dog, thank you for the 4 months. No more crackle in the mic. It should come back. We need to finish the dang video too. I need to get a new fucking cable, which I was putting off, but I got one and it'll come soon because my cable is shit. But for Deleuze, desire comes in the similar sense that Freud believes desire comes from. It's produced by the libido. It's just that we attach positively our different drives and different desires, which is it's a far more sort of cohesive understanding of the word. Joe Biden leaks. Oh yeah, we can watch the Joe Biden leaks. And you plug those desires into the social world, and you're not aware of this consciously. It's a subconscious process. It's just the most powerful desires that you have manifest themselves as conscious in your conscious intellect as a lack, but it's productive. It's positive. It's connected to the social world, and it adds to that social world, sort of, That's basically
all cops are bad cops.
You and Matt chatting was a stream come true.
Yeah, that was great. Stream come true is good. It's like dream come true. We can do oh fuck, I don't have it bookmarked on this.
All cops are bad cops.
These streams are keeping me sane, TBH.
And Alcor Nerdism, thank you for the 3 months. Here we go. Oh, that's the wrong one. You can see my sub count if you want. There we go. Great way to start up the stream. If you have a Twitch Prime and you haven't used it yet, make sure to use it on me. Difference between Deliz's Desire production and Foucault's pleasure/desire. The Dirkus, thank you for the 100 bits. If you want to use Twitch, we got 27 tier 1 emotes, they're all good.
All cops are bad cops.
J3DJ3D, thank you for your business bucks. I honestly need to brush up on Foucault, admittedly. But Foucault also believes that desire is not allowed. Foucault also rejects Freud on different ground.
Love these streams.
Bleed PMG, thank you for your business bucks. But they're pretty in agreement on desire. They have a different account of desire, but they're in relative
All
agreement.
cops are bad cops.
Did I miss anything? I don't think so. Which Wolverine game? Let me see. Look at my incredible
All cops are
search
bad
stuff.
cops.
Oh, it's not in the thing anymore. I don't know. Zuba, thank you for your business bucks. It's some old Wolverine game. Yes, we also have the lizard emotes, of course. We got the Mech Sterner doing the PogChamp face emote. This is a classic Pog Sterner. Lots of great emotes, folks. What else? So yeah, we have the Biden leaks we can talk about. We can watch the Kush blog. We can listen to some of the stream. It's okay, GD channel. Also, if you wanted to plug your Cash App for a sec, because you need a bit of money, that would be fine. Because I said you could, of course. This is not a universal deal. This is a very specific. Care to explain what? Oh my god. That's disturbing. Yeah, I mean, you caught me. You figured it out. This is, you know, my tech didn't work. Turns out that you can't actually get people's blood without having to, like, you know, physically break skin. So my company, and you know, now I'm on to doing Wretched of the Earth book clubs. You caught me. Are you happy? Are you happy? Unknown Merc, thank you for 100 bits. Video on Incel Obama.
Video on Incel Obama for React content after white boy Biden.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Chain of Dogs, thank you for the gift sub.
With a Joker guy.
Oh yeah, and Pete Buttigieg's Game Quarter, thank you for the 5 gift subs.
You know, I
Let's go.
with a Joker guy.
Snapcaster Mage, thank you for the 100 bits. What's a good modern book on socialism? You mean like contemporary? That's a good question. That as like a foundation. I don't know if they're making, like, usually it's not, usually texts aren't foundational in the contemporary context. They usually build off a lot of things. The very foundational socialist and like very left-wing texts are like early modern. Am I on Parler? I should be. I should be on Parler. I don't know. I'm missing so much good content on that by not being on that website. What's therapy? Thank you for 300 bits. What am I drinking? Coca-Cola. 4 minutes left. The hype train continues. If you'd like to contribute. But Prenti is good. What is the app Clubhouse? I've heard of that. That's another one of the left or right wing like I've been banned from Twitter / YouTube sort of things. Won't they offer you 20K if you go on Parler? If they do they offer you, listen, Parler, 20K? Are you serious? Oh yeah, 20K for my social security number, because don't you need that to like be verified on Parler? Oh yeah, DJ Shannon needs a little bit of cash. That is very good. So if you have a bit
bad cops.
as well, you can. What's the cash? That's a Cash App thing. Pappy Moppy, thank you for the 2-1. Parler is cope. Oh yeah, and it's like they're not even using it. That's the funny thing about Parler. They're not even like everyone realizes you need to be on Twitter. That like influencers are like, I do not have any clout on this website. Fidel Keiko, thank you for 2 gift subs. Like they don't have any clout on Parler, and they're like, well shit. I wanted clout. I have to go back to Twitter. No one's interacting with me here. Parler really is just the lowest of the barrel. Please update Streamlabs so it stops asking me. What do you mean? There's echo? What do you mean? I did just change computers, so there might be some issues with the setup. Who's my favorite Degrassi character? The guy who shoots Drake. That's a classic scene. Degrassi's great Canadian show. Do I think I'll play Cyberpunk? Maybe. There's a QAA stream later that I'm gonna jump onto as well. That should be fun. Why did my Twitter username change? Oh, I changed it to Twitch streamer, did I not? As a bit. Because there is that thing of like, can every woman who sees this change their handle to reflect their credentials? So I changed my handle to reflect my credentials as a Twitch streamer. I'm a girl boss Twitch streamer. Skrillex Grilla, thank you for 200 bits. That'd be so funny. As you know people who are like, like refer to me as Doctor, not Mrs. Why did you go private? Oh no. I'm doing like grad school stuff, so I'm just gonna be private on Twitter for a while. I don't really want to use it that much at the moment anyways, because I'm working on other stuff. Yeah, but instead of like, that's Doctor, it'd be like, that's Twitch streamer Liv posting to you. Actually, not Miss. That would be awesome. They should make like a title. Finals went great. Yeah, it's super easy. Am I doing a philosophy PhD? No, just a master's. Yeah, bachelor should be one too, and master's as well. You're playing grad school with posting and resume? No. Oh yeah, because that's my name. Lib posting is my legal name. Yes, that's why I'm doing it. Rex Parker, thank you for 300 bits. You have to call me Twitch streamer Liv? Yes, absolutely. Address me as Twitch streamer. All right, thank you for the hype train, everybody. Much appreciated. Great way to start the stream. We love to see it, folks. This is also the intro. Is this very very great Joe Biden gaffe lo-fi compilation? If you wanna.
All cops are bad cops.
Blue
Yo,
Chairman,
that's
thank
a
you for
lot
7
of
months.
time.
That's a lot of time. 7 months. This is about me. Let me see. What is going on? What is the context for this? What is this? What does any of this mean? Jesse, what the fuck are you talking about? Is this I honestly, I go on that Jen Dong is the most fascinating subreddit. Because they're all clearly just like 16 and haven't read theory or whatever. Oh, it's Jen Dong. Oh, Donger, right, because I go on Jen Dong. I do. I'm a Donger. What can I say? It's so fascinating. And I mean that in a very patronizing way. They think you browse it sincerely. I mean, at some point, like the amount of time I browse this, it has to be like, it's very. What is the post? Can you link it? Is it about someone link it? I'm a fan of Jen Dong. Shout out to Proletaire for moderating that subreddit. Oh, did they? Oh, well, I'm making fun of them in this. Yeah, I was making fun of them. Because that's not a material analysis that's saying that culture defines the economy. Okay, anyways. Yeah, I'm a donger. What can I say? That's funny. Anyways, God bless their heart and soul. Don't be mean to them. Actually, or do whatever. I don't care. Don't do it under my name. That's the one condition. All right. What? There's so much because I haven't done a politics stream in like a decent amount. I've just been doing gaming stuff. What is there to talk about? So there's obviously Pete got Secretary of Transportation, which is like a fake job, right? That doesn't really matter. I mean, it's great to see such up and coming go-getters. Biden leaks. Oh, right. Can you link me some of the YouTube videos for that? Let's see. They're pretty bad. I mean, it's Is this a meme? Oh, that's funny. That's very funny. Misunderstood what Biden meant by getting to kill Greyhound. That's really good. There's a lot to that too. I mean, there's not a lot to that, but it's a funny joke. Secretary of Transportation. Is it offensive
All cops are
to make the
bad
joke,
cops.
which is the
2
best way to
months
start a sentence?
poggers.
Little cheese string, thank you for the 2 months. To say that what Pete wants to resegregate buses, that's what he's gonna do. That's his goal. He's gonna try to make it look woke or something, but that's the Pete Buttigieg guarantee. I mean, we see. Hey, that clears now. Hey, Kaylee, how's it going? I mean, you see what he did with like control as mayor. How like it's like the amount of racist shit Pete did as mayor of a small town is like proportionally speaking like you would expect like no like unless you're super racist you won't be able to negatively affect black people's lives as like the mayor of a small town that much, and he really did. He really like impressively racist. Which is not, that's saying that wrong, but yeah, what does fucking Secretary of Transportation even do? Nina Turner's running for Congress? That's cool. Is it through the Democratic Party? Yeah, no, it has to be. No, she wouldn't run as an independent. That would be very difficult. Working Hines. Well, that's good. Cool. I hope that goes well for her. What is he'll put impressively racist? Yeah, no, that's the neolib up and comer go getter, which is like absolutely Pete is the embodiment of the like millennial neolib cynical like go getter. You know, like asks the teacher if there's any extra bonus work on top of the bonus work that he's done. Transportation is important. Oh, okay. Oh, that's funny, hamster. That's good. Georgia Reloaded. Oh, yeah, okay. I haven't watched this. I've been pretty offline, I'm not going to lie. So I can experience these things live
American
on air.
Story.
So is he campaigning for anything? Like, or is he just like, I just want to fucking make a video? Georgia Reloaded. Oh my god, dude. David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Oh, okay, it is. Okay, it's for the right. Right, of course, it's Georgia Reloaded. Yeah, of course.
Is one of true exceptionalism. It's built on the greatest ideas in history. This victory
All
tonight,
cops are bad
it's about
cops.
you. It's about defining those.
Ape Official, thank you for the
Sorry,
AIP
folks.
Official.
I'll be right back.
Thank you for the 3 months in advance for 2 months.
What do we got?
Well, it's not over in Georgia. Senate races went to a runoff.
What are we up against?
You'll never believe this.
Wait, sorry, what was he saying at the start? Right.
One of true exceptionalism. It's built on the greatest ideas in history. This victory tonight, it's about you. It's about defining those.
So he's like doing a Trump acceptance speech.
What the fuck?
If you just fucking
Sorry,
say
folks.
about
I'll be
me,
right
little
back.
bit.
Reza Sustra. I'm saying that wrong. Thank you for the gift sub.
What do we got?
Well, it's not over in Georgia. Senate races went to a runoff.
What are we up against?
You'll never believe this.
Far-left activists are attempting to gain full and total control of the
this is
U.S.
great.
government.
That we secure a Democratic Senate majority so that we don't have to negotiate in that way.
Should these Senate seats be lost, all will be lost.
You supported the Green New Deal. You
This
supported
is Special Agent.
Medicare for all. Yeah.
Your mission will be
Special
to rally
Agent
support
Dan
across
Crenshaw.
Georgia behind these American patriots,
so cool.
Senator Perdue and Senator Loeffler.
I love it.
They must win.
What's our situation on the ground?
We have two patriots down there, Senator Loeffler and Senator Perdue. Great fighters with a great message.
They just need a little backup.
Last question. Who do you want to bring?
Bring everyone.
What? What? He's jumping out of a... Yeah, he's like... His chute doesn't pull properly.
Control, what's the situation at the LZ?
Good evening, sir. Rather lovely form, if I may say so. But we do have
He's
small
literally
problem at the
doing a
landing
secret
zone.
agent video.
So-called anti-fascists, an ironic
Oh my-
term given their propensity to, well, act like fascists, are patrolling the
Incredible.
area. Recommend we shift north 3
This
kilometers.
is the next president.
How does that sound?
Negative. I want to say hello to the greeting party. What's the bearing?
Always one for a bit of drama. 90 degrees from your current heading. Be well, sir.
I mean, politics is just movies now. It's just If you want to appeal to people, you have to be like, I'm like the guy on the movie screen.
Man, where is this guy?
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be dark soon.
Antifa hipster soy boys. Oh, and they've got, you know, I don't.
It's gonna be dark soon.
There's so much to this. So they've got like just a bunch of trash because I guess they're like they can't clean up after themselves. Yeah, this is Vosh.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be
Like
dark soon.
I don't know if Dan Crenshaw's team. I'm sure they. That's the perception.
Where is that?
Okay, so he breaks the chute.
All right.
So he's parachuting in.
I don't even know why I'm so angry, you know?
Oh,
The
they're
news told us to be.
incredible. Oh, he lands on the car. Oh, this is. Oh, he punched. Oh, yeah. What is Dan Crenshaw even? That's incredible, dude. That's incredible. That's truly. The spectacle truly gets better and better as time goes on. I don't even know what to say. Well, everything is LARP now. Oh yeah, let's look at the Obama leak. Everything is LARP. Of course it is. I'm sure his base will eat that shit up. What else is there? I'm sure they'll fucking love it. All right, it's cool that they were recording. Make Schumer cry again.
I'm there. President-elect, you've mentioned more than once how the black vote saved you in your races in the Senate in Delaware. You've talked about your friendship with Mouse. We are now saying the black community have stood up in this election cycle. Let's not suffocate the black vote in Georgia and make sure we send the right message, because the success of this administration will be the ability of the Senate to confirm your nominees. We have an opportunity here, and we want to make sure we seize upon this opportunity and allowing for the input necessary. 10 more appointments to go. A lot of people in our community are getting a little anxious because they are not seeing enough of the progress they thought they would have seen at this point. Let's not disappoint them, and let's not get to a place where voters in Georgia begin to second guess. Okay, let me respond. I've got to go. Let me respond. There's a lot to respond to here. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number one. Number two, I mean what I say when I say it. I mean what I say when I say it. I'm the only person who's ever run
He did the
on
he
three
did the Trump
platforms
thing.
that I was told could not possibly
He did the Trump thing of like, I've done the most for black people of
win the
any.
election, and I never ceased from it. One was on restoring the soul of this country because of what I saw happen in Charlottesville. That was it. No one else was talking about it. The words of presidents matter. Nobody else. No progressive.
No progressive was saying that Charlottesville was bad.
I did. My son Bo used to have an expression. He said,
Wait, so yeah, this is like a leak. Like he's just doing this.
remember, Dad. Remember, Dad. Home base. It ain't worth the job if I can't say what I believe. I didn't want to run this time. I ran this time because of the racist son of a gun who was president of the United States of America. That's why I ran. And you remember, a lot of you told me talking about the soul of America was going over people's heads. They didn't know what we're talking about. The words of a president matter. What a president says matters. And you've never seen me shy away. In the middle of the debate, I called him a racist. In the middle of the debate with him, I took on white supremacists. I'm the guy that took on every single time somebody was threatened in this country. The only white boy you know who did it, period, out there. Every single time. So look, all I'm saying here is, guys and ladies, we're on the same exact page.
So I'm the only white boy who did it, period. I mean, the main thing here is literally him just like,
okay,
you haven't done that much for the black community. And he's like, I've done more than enough for them.
Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than
That's such a good motto for the Biden administration. Let me get this straight. You shouldn't be disappointed, you son of a bitch.
anybody else has done this far.
Oh, you want more?
Okay, number one. Number two.
I mean, it is just like the leftists who think that like the avenue for social change is trying to convince this administration to go left is like it's a pipe, like it's contradictory. When it's important to emphasize that it's a contradiction, that it is physically impossible, because usually the response is like, well, what else do we have? You know, where you're going to build power by itself, not go through the DNC. And it's like, at least doing that, even how impossible it looks, isn't a logical contradiction. Isn't impossible.
Two,
like,
I mean what I say when I say it.
Like the difference in terms of like far left organizing, you have to separate, and theories and understandings of the world, you have to separate basically left-wing beliefs into two camps, which is logically contradictory, literally impossible to achieve, and then like super very, very, very unlikely, but possible.
I mean what I say when I say it.
It's important to understand which political programs are like literally not possible.
I'm the only person
like
who's ever run.
Like the DNC is the graveyard of social movements. First and foremost, I saw that happen with Me Too, for instance.
On three platforms that I was told could not possibly win the election, and I never ceased from it. One was on restoring
what putting your stock primarily in like a fucking Biden administration to get left-wing reforms through will do is literally just destroy your left-wing movement. It'll run it into the fucking ground. It's a contradictory plan for change. It doesn't work. Unless you just want mild social democracy. If you want that, then like maybe you have a shot. I don't know.
Soul of this country because of what I saw happen in Charlotte.
Yeah, that's there were other leaks, were there not? And yeah, I mean this is the attitude from before that we saw even before he got fucking elected, where in that Breakfast Club interview with Charlemagne the God. Not even there was far more in the interview than simply the "you ain't black" thing, which is the main one. That's the main, like, obviously the main line. But like where Charlemagne is like it's assumed that black people vote for the Democratic Party because they're
all cops
better than
are
Republicans.
bad
That's
cops.
obviously true.
Hi, y'all.
Oishi, thank you for the 9 months. But like, what are you actually going to do for black people? And his response was, "Listen, Mac, I've done a lot for black people. What do you mean? Why you want me to do more? Like what? Is pie in the sky? Desire to end racism instead of just making it slightly not as bad? That's the Biden position. The full 2-hour calls on the Intercept YouTube. I'm assuming that's like the most significant one. Ex-cop get arrested for trying to break into air. Oh my fucking god, dude. Of course. That is.
For a former Houston police captain is now charged with holding a repairman at gunpoint, claiming he was involved in a massive voter fraud scheme in Harris County. Mark Aguirre is charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Investigators say Aguirre conducted a civilian investigation into what he believed to be an alleged ballot scheme. Authorities say after 4 days of surveillance, Aguirre crashed into the victim's truck to get the technician to stop and exit his vehicle. Police say he held him on the ground at gunpoint with his knee into the victim's back. The affidavit also says no ballots were ever found. If Aguirre is found guilty, he faces up to 20 years in jail.
Well, I guess it's good that he was an ex-cop because now he actually gets some sort of fucking punishment. There's some sort of recognition by the system
all cops are
that
bad
he has done
cops.
harm at some level. Fish Podcast, thank you for the tier 1. He's 63. This is the real thing about like QAnon stuff and like what it really does in terms of harm in the world, as opposed to just the regular understanding is, of course, that it makes people like have an entirely incoherent view of the world and understanding of politics. The other thing, though, the real material thing, immediate thing, is that it inspires these individual acts, right? These individual like violent acts that you know, and I guess this is like this is just. I mean, I'm sure that was incredibly traumatizing for the other dude. At least no one died. Jesus Christ! But that's really what these like far right conspiracy theories. He wasn't working alone. Who knows? Yeah. So I think that this is an example of those, and what like the right wing conspiracy stuff actually has an effect is like these. It's usually like lone wolf sort of. Yeah. That's deeply disturbing. I wonder if the UK will be like, yeah, we need to start deprogramming QAnon leaders. The UK. I don't know. I'm sure there's QAnon stuff in the UK. I'm confused. He might get convicted. If he's an ex-cop, I doubt he's as protected. I don't know. What else is there? What has happened recently? Yeah, I mean, the QAnon stuff is getting even more insane. And even more mainstream as a phenomenon. We're seeing like at some point Trump is just going to say that QAnon is real. That's like the inevitable conclusion. And if that happens, then it's, and I do wonder how much this is really like to some extent in American politics, this is sort of an inevitable turn. I think Trump getting elected was a fluke and it like accelerated it. But like, again, if you look at like in 2008, 50% of Republican voters thought that fucking the election was rigged by Acorn and that Obama was an illegitimate president. It's up to 70% now of Republican voters, but that's actually not that crazy of a change. That's far less significant than you might imagine in terms of a change from what? That's this 12-year difference in elections. There are U.S. senators talking to the FBI about QAnon. Oh, yeah, that's probably a good idea. I would imagine that QAnon is probably one of the biggest, like, in terms of internal terrorist organizations, the stuff related to Q is the most significant threat to the American state Not, and of course that doesn't mean they're going to do revolution, because there's no political revolution of any sort is ever close in current American politics. But in terms of like, smaller scale terrorist org, yeah, I would imagine that that's a pretty accurate or like understanding of the threats. Which is to say that like the left-wing threat doesn't exist. It's fake. It's a facade. When the right talks about Antifa thugs or whatever, it's like actually relatively insignificant. Like the left's capacity to threaten power is pretty small. Especially in terms of a sustained sense, because there was a large uptick in like spontaneous protests in the summer. Which I mean, and even I would imagine some people who participate aren't like in any way affiliated with left-wing orgs. So you could especially even discount like it's in terms of sustained pressure from the left. It's like a third of that. A few people die and it'll be scary. That's pretty much what I think happens. Is like what QAnon inspires when Trump is no longer in office. Oh wait, hold on. I was smiling because someone linked this, by the way. I'm not smiling at what I'm talking about. There might be some individual acts of violence, basically. It's very similar to a lot of doomsday cults where they think that the world is going to end at a certain point, and then they it doesn't end, and instead of not believing their belief system, they believe it even harder. Congratulations, Pete Buttigieg. There's so much to be done. I'm looking forward to working with you. This is Amy Klobuchar's hell. She has to work with Pete Buttigieg. What is Klobuchar's position in the administration? Oh, she's so mad. That's so funny. That is like, because all of these people, in the Democratic establishment are like purely self-interested pieces of shit. So of course all of them have these petty feuds, which there's another, like, libs love to focus on the idea that like the reason why all of this is happening with voter fraud stuff is the destruction of norms. And to a certain extent they're correct, but fundamentally what it's caused by is like everyone in the political sphere is purely out for themselves, purely cynical politicians that only want to see, view of the world and of other people not through empathy but through like their use value to that person. That's it. It's a purely or exchange value. It's a purely economic thing. And so that's how you can get a bunch of lawyers to be like, yes, no, I will try to destroy the republic. I will try to destroy it because, whatever. I know it's bad, but like...
Donald Trump shit his fucking pants.
Kinda Reloaded, thank you for the raid. Thank you so much. I hope you had a good stream. Yeah, there was a tweet that I saw. Let me scroll down here. Where is it? We are just vibing, talking about
cops
politics.
are bad cops.
Rena Ramon, thank you for the tier 2 of 4 months. Rena Ramon, thank you for the tier 2 of 4 months. That's very funny. Yeah, so is transportation a particularly significant job anyways? Like, this is almost a sympathy, like was he expecting more from this, or is this like a big deal from him? Yes, no. I'm getting mixed answers here. I mean, he's not vice president, which is, I'm sure, what he wanted. What he wanted is president. Yeah, what else are there? Oh, yeah, we can watch this. This is about UK stuff. He definitely wanted something a lot bigger. I mean, yeah, because he wanted president, right? But it's something. Is Berlatsky happy? I don't know who that is. Are they like, because they had that, there was that thing about them saying that like parenting is oppressive.
We are told Keir Starmer has completed unconscious.
which was a stupid way of putting that.
Bias training.
course.
But does he need lessons in identifying racism, which is a little bit more explicit? That's the question I asked myself after watching him respond to a caller on LBC this morning. So the lady had phoned in to ask Keir Starmer what he thought about her husband, who she said had been one of the fans booing at Millwall's match when the
President viable in 2 to 3 cycles? Well, let's go, dude.
Took a knee. Starmer said he disagreed with the booing, but then failed to challenge her on something she said which was far more worrying. Let's take a look.
Taking the knee, and the players and the referees very often take the knee, and I think that's what it's symbolic of.
What did Angles have to say about the family? Angles takes from like Henry Morgan's understanding of society developing through kinship relationships, but Angles believes that kinship relationships evolve. So there's a sort of teleological endpoint, which the modern sort of nuclear family is a part of. That is a superior form than the quote-unquote primitive form. So he continues sort of Morgan's idea.
Ferdinand, who you'll probably know just from my listeners, was a very successful footballer, happens
And
to be
so
a black fellow himself.
what Angles' book about the family, you could just throw it out. It's
now the
sort of
first
shitty.
black man to be a director of football. He's with the Championship Queen's Park Rangers, and he says it is hollow. It's like a fancy hashtag or a lapel. It's his achieving nothing.
Well, I don't think that's right. What I think the
he's
counter...
a black man who played football for England. I mean, he's in a position of knowledge, isn't he?
No, he is, of course, and I respect his view, of course. It doesn't mean I agree with it. I think that what's happened over the many years, this is the counter-argument, it's quite a powerful one, is that there is racial inequality, there is injustice, and from time to time, it becomes an issue, it's looked at for a few weeks, and then it goes away. And this is an attempt to keep the focus on it until things really change.
Hasn't the round now focused just on taking the knee? And the important issue of getting black managers, black directors of football, black chairmen or chairwomen of clubs, I mean, that's been lost because we just take the knee. So
no, I don't think it's one or the other. I think you can do both, and it's a way of drawing attention to it.
Yeah,
But
I think it's
in the end, it's for each individual to decide how they want to tackle injustice.
Why did Gemma? Why did your husband? Sorry, you didn't quite explain. If I may go there again, why did he choose choose to boo? Sorry.
Because if anything, the racial inequality is now against the indigenous people of Britain, because we are set to become a minority by 2066.
It is crazy though. Do you see how even the language, because this is just like a white white genocide, like right-wing British person. You see how even that is picking up sort of pseudo left-wing language. We're the indigenous Britons and we are being genocided. It's just like what we did in North America.
And taking the knee, bringing the political sphere into the football arena, and we just have to look across to the Middle East. Israel has a state law that they are the only people in that country to have self-determination. Well, why?
I was about to say, it's like, it sounds a lot like the pro-Zionist people who are like, we're by engaging in a expressly settler colonial project, we're doing decolonization.
As a white British female, have that same right.
Final point to you on this, Sakir.
Well, Gemma, we all have those rights. This is about recognising some injustice has gone on for a very, very long time. And I think people were genuinely moved this year and want to make sure that injustice is dealt with. And
that's such a centre-left British way of handling that.
Posting cozy.
Silcoop with the 13-month founder badge. Thank you. Of like,
people.
I don't know about that, mate.
We'll look at it different ways, but I think the vast majority of people do want a more equal society.
That's how you respond to like a literal, like, borderline, potentially fucking Nazi. Like, bloody hell, mate. I don't know about that.
Gemma, thank you.
No, I mean, I think actually Keir Starmer's answer in the first half of that clip was quite good. I think his defence of people taking a knee was very thoughtful and very persuasive. The second half, though, I mean, let's go over what that caller said. So the caller said that actually it's white people who are oppressed in this country because they're about to become a minority by 2066.
Because they're indigenous.
Projections from some demographer, now that's sort of become core to the Great Replacement theory. Yeah. I'm sure Ash will talk about that in more detail in a moment. What I want to focus on now, that the caller suggested we learn from the nation-state law in Israel and pass a law, which is basically saying let's pass a law guaranteeing self-determination for white Brits. So she's saying, why don't white Brits have the same right to self-determine that Jews in Israel do? And in response, Keir Starmer says, we all have those rights. No, we don't all have those rights. We don't all have the right to live in an ethno state where our ethnicity is treated with as privileged over others. I mean, it's essentially apartheid, right? Now, obviously, I'm not saying that clip shows you that Keir Starmer supports apartheid, but I do think it is quite troubling that is essentially. I mean, that's how you can interpret his words. He didn't challenge that woman who said, let's have self-determination for white people in Britain like they have self-determination for Jews only in Israel.
Well, I mean, one of the major elements of the Corbyn smear was basically him being like, Israel should treat Palestinian people with human rights.
They
tried to do that shit to Bernie too, because he said the same thing. I mean, although I think Corbyn's position is better than Bernie's on that. They tried to call Bernie an anti-Semite for it.
Just brushed it.
It didn't
off.
stick, obviously.
Ash, I want to bring you in on this. Keir Starmer, he has done unconscious bias training, but either he didn't recognize what I thought was quite blatant white supremacy there, or he felt that it wasn't appropriate to challenge it.
Well, he should really be getting a refund on that unconscious bias training, shouldn't he? If you can't pick up on really obvious white nationalist conspiracism when it's right in front of you. And look, me and you have both done radio phone-in shows, and sometimes you don't get to say all the things that you want to say, and you kick yourself a while after. But I don't think that's quite what happened here. I think what has happened here is that Keir Starmer was listening for what he knew to prepare for, which was the question on Millwall and booing and BLM and taking the knee. And it meant that he had just tuned out these. I mean, it's not even a racist dog whistle, right? It's an absolute honking white nationalist vuvuzela. And what that indicates to me is a certain lack of racial literacy.
Jewish man is anti-Semitic. Well, they literally kicked out an anti-Israeli Jewish woman from the Labour Party, right?
Is what I would call it. A lack of racial
they did that a couple weeks ago?
Literacy from Keir Starmer. And we've seen this, a couple of times before when he, called Black Lives Matter a moment and not a movement. When he, dismissed defunding the police out of hand, which is fine if that's a policy decision that you disagree with and want to distance yourself from. But with this kind of degree of disrespect for the activists who had generated it, he doesn't have that kind of discerning ear and ability to
we should watch that.
react and to respond from a place of, I think, very deep confidence and knowledge. And that's going to be a problem. And it's not going to be a problem because the left, who are phenomenally disempowered within Labour, are going to kick off.
I mean, the only thing that I can think of from all of this is just like, you're gonna have a conservative government for a while. Like the Blairite Labour plan to just purge the party, and then be like, oh, we'll just go back to like Blairite days, and then we'll win. We'll be it's like, no,
it's not going to be a thing that troubles
you. Like destroyed your party, trying to kick out the lefties.
What is going to trouble him is that this phenomenon of great replacement conspiracism and this kind of,
I mean, that's the thing, is like calling Corbyn an anti-Semite, and then you're talking to someone on the radio who is like using the 14 words, and you're like, oh, we have our disagreements.
Iranian media infrastructure, ecology, which is sort of being generated and nurtured by the alt-right, this kind of phoning into radio shows in order to wedge in your white nationalist talking points, that is only going to grow. And unless you have a Labour leader who's able to identify when this is going on and have some kind of prepared response to it, which is making, a real impassioned defense of the kind of society that he wants to see, a multiracial, multi-ethnic and multicultural democracy, then a Labour leader is not going to get anywhere nearer Downing Street than his predecessors, I think. And there's also one more thing that I briefly want to touch on, if that's okay, and it's about the matter of the Great Replacement itself. Because whenever I call the Great Replacement a conspiracy theory, I have 1,000,001 far-right thunderheads in my mentions, sharing this one clip from a video that I did a few years ago called Against Integration. There's a 9-second clip in which I highlight some statistics which had been reported, I think in the Daily Mail, indicating demographic change in London. And I go, all right, lads, we're winning. And the reason why they clip this and they distribute it as they
Oh
think
yeah,
that it
yeah.
represents not
I've
only me saying,
definitely
oh, the great
seen.
replacement is real, but saying, and I'm a part of it. I endorse it and I think it's really good. The actual much longer video is about the research produced by a sociologist called Ted Cantle. And I cite those statistics because I think that what it shows is that he handled this data in a very biased way. He looks at rising diversity, and because he judges it by the fact that you have a smaller proportion of white Brits in diverse areas, he goes, oh, that's a segregated neighborhood. I disagree with that fundamentally. The Great Replacement is a conspiracy theory which essentially says that there is a kind of shadowy, cabal of elites,
Right.
often coded as
Which it's beyond simply demographic change.
Jewish. It's very, very close to
It's
lots
usually
of other
anti-Semitic.
anti-Semitic myths. This great replacement,
Which is again a massive like someone is doing anti-Semitic tropes to Starmer, and he's like, oh,
All cops are bad cops.
Pip pip cheerio, whatever, To Republic, thank you for the 6
that's
months.
pulling the strings to try and
It's almost like Keir Starmer didn't purge Corbyn from the party because he was worried about anti-Semitism.
eradicate the indigenous white race from Europe and America and sometimes Australia. This is of course complete hokum. What they do is they take
20
these
subs. No, this is a bait. Sorry. That's a fake sub count.
statistics which show demographic change, and there's all kinds of demographic change, right?
I'm
There's
sorry.
religious demographic change, there's racial demographic change, obviously. There's also age demographic change, which no one seems to have that big of a problem with. And they go, see, your race is under attack. No, what's going on and what drives these numbers is that those waves of immigration, which were once kind of temporary. People would come over, they'd make some money, they'd move back. That's changed. People have settled down, they put down roots, they have children, they fall in love, they make lives with one another. They actually perform the kind of integration which everyone's telling me is the right thing to do. And that's what drives this great replacement conspiracy theory. It says that essentially demographic change is the result of these nefarious forces which are trying to rob white people of what's rightfully theirs. And it's very closely linked to anti-Semitism, also very, very closely linked with lots of really horrible stuff to do with, anti-abortion, very, very conservative on reproductive rights. And I think it's important that when this is going to be, I think, such a core part of the far right story going forward, and you can see that there is this porousness between the barrier between mainstream opinion and alt-right opinion because of the kind of huge electoral upsets of Donald Trump having won in the 2016 American election. You've also got hard right Brexit, you've got this current composition of Boris Johnson's cabinet, and then you've also got a media ecology which is constantly drawing on these figures and elevating them to pundit status. This is going to be something which is going to, I think, you'll hear about it more and more in our politics. And Keir Starmer, if he wants to...
Aren't there centrist or libs who think that AOC is anti-Semitic because she was like, yeah, BDS is good?
Actually be a trusted figure on anti-racism. And I've got no doubt that that is something that he wants to do. If not always has the tools to be able to do, is going to have to work out a strategy for it, because tuning it out, responding to the question that you wanted to hear rather than the comments that you did actually hear.
Did I say BDSM? No, I didn't. You're just
simply
saying
isn't good enough.
Say he wasn't listening actually gives him more credit than he deserves. I mean, he's an intelligent man. He was clearly listening to what was said, and
he decided
he
to
didn't recognize that something very...
Starmer wants to ban BDS from universities.
Something drawn from white supremacy was said, or explicitly white supremacist was said, or he didn't feel comfortable challenging it. And one thing that I think actually stood out for me is that he clearly wasn't paying attention in the whole summer-long debate that we had about the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. Because if he had, he would know that one of the big problems with that, one of the big complaints people had, was that by saying that Israel has a right to self-determine, essentially, that can be used to justify the nation-state law, which is to say that if a people have a right to self-determination, then they have a right to be an ethnic majority in a nation, which is precisely what's motivating the nation-state law, which is to say that, yes, look, there's concerns in Israel.
Which is weird and reversed, by the way, in terms of the typical sort of liberal 20th century idea of the nation-state and self-determination.
Critical support for BDSM by AOC.
Giorno Pizza, thank you for the 2 months.
And the Arabs.
Like, it's reversed, where it's like every nation or group that is conceivable deserves a state and therefore deserves a majority region. Which is, if you look at historically how, like, nation states develop and ideas of, the ideas of nations develop, it's reversed. It's usually enforced by a state. It's usually, this is the sort of leftist account of the age of nationalism, particularly as it exists in Europe, is like, it's far more the central French state forcing peasants in Aquitaine to speak French. Aquitaine? I don't know how to pronounce that.
Reproduce it. I'm using their horrible language.
Nation states are not a natural thing that just happen. It's an invented concept.
Language. The Arab population is growing faster than the Jewish population. So to secure the rights of the Jewish population, you have to put basically a bit of an apartheid clause in the constitution to say, even if Jews no longer are the majority, they still are the only people with rights to have ownership of that nation, essentially. And this is being taken up by white supremacists in this country who are saying, look, there is a danger that whites will no longer be, or white people, sorry, I don't want to use that language. White people will no longer be the majority.
You sound like, de Klerk or something.
The whites. I mean, that's what the caller was suggesting. Because Keir Starmer wasn't paying attention to IRA, he wasn't paying attention to the nation state law, he didn't notice that. I noticed that in like half a second, right?
Yeah, that's pretty
And
obvious.
that completely went over his head because he's not paying attention to liberation struggles around the world and the nature of ethno-nationalism is something that he's not alive to. And that means he completely missed the point there.
The region in the south.
I want to talk.
There's a good book called what is it? I think it's like Teaching Peasants How to Be Frenchmen that goes over this. What is that stupid book called? To be French, or Turning Peasants into Frenchmen. Peasants into Frenchmen, that goes over this. They basically, like, the central sort of, I guess, Parisian French language was like
a bit more
in I think 17th and 18th centuries, like essentially forced in public education to the sort of peripheral or southern and western regions of France. That's how like the French identity develops. It's not a natural thing.
Thanks to researchers on Twitter, we know that the caller was not actually Gemma from Cambridge, as she claimed, but someone who goes by the name of Jodie Kay. So she has a YouTube channel promoting far-right conspiracy theories
so she
and
is
is
a
a supporter of the far-right patriotic alternative
She
group.
is a Nazi. Okay,
Apparently
she literally is a Nazi. Well, there you go.
She's actually she was introduced as Gemma from Cambridge, as I said, but she is in fact a yoga teacher in Ibiza. The far-right
She's a fucking yoga teacher.
Also pleased with how it went. So this is a screenshot from a far-right Telegram broadcast. It was found by the crowdsourcing collective Red Flare on Twitter, definitely worth a follow. And you can see there, this is a far-right account, Charlie Big Potatoes Official. I don't know where the name comes from. They say an absolute masterclass of groiping. Which is to say you go on sort of mainstream platforms and put in conspiracy theories unbeknownst to the host. From Jodie Kay here, as all Keir Starmer can do.
They made the word groiper even more disgusting.
Is try and worm his way out of answering any of her points. Well done, Jodie. Now, obviously, they're being completely opportunistic. They're claiming this is a victory because it makes them look good. But it's undeniable that Keir Starmer didn't successfully challenge. And
100%.
in fact, by saying we all have those rights, in a way, by accident, I'm sure by accident, reinforced and legitimized the quite horrific views which were being put to him.
Yeah. That's deeply disturbing and indicative of the future of the Labour Party. Let's watch this, though. This interview with the older Jewish woman that was kicked out of the Labour Party for supporting Palestinian rights.
On Friday's show, we spoke about the suspension of Naomi Wimborne-Adrissi. Naomi is the co-founder of Jewish Voice for Labour and was suspended last week because of comments made in a CLP meeting. She is the vice chair of Chingford and Woodford Green, and both her and the chair of Chingford and Woodford Green, CLP, Gary Leffley, were suspended after remarks they made at a meeting about Corbyn's suspension and Keir Starmer's leadership. Recordings of the...
Just saying Google USS Liberty. Although the USS Liberty stuff is like right-wingers who are so anti-Semitic that they don't like Israel. Whereas I think some Nazis are like... I mean, I guess they're incoherent, so it's not a logically consistent
Relevant
position.
speeches are available.
Because that it's not even dog whistle from that question was like saying that like, well, if they can do an ethno state, shouldn't we be able to do it?
The Jewish Voice for Labour website, so you can judge for yourself whether you think people were right to feel uncomfortable in the meeting. When we discussed Naomi's suspension, we couldn't get her on the show as there was a confidentiality clause in her suspension letter. However, now Naomi's case has been discussed in the papers, in the press, and very publicly. She has decided...
Nazis are pro-Israel because they can send them to a country. Yeah, that's true. Although, it's why like there was some sort of minor collaboration between Marcus Garvey and the KKK, which because the KKK also like wanted black people to leave America,
and that her enforced silence is no longer justifiable.
It's a sort of similar logic.
And I caught up with Naomi earlier today.
KKK.
I started by asking about the status of her suspension. Has she been given any timetable as to what happens next, or any chance to make representations?
This is entirely up in the air, and Gary and I are in a similar position to a number of others who've been administratively suspended. So this is by, according...
Afraid these neoliberals will turn anti-Semite into just people who are pro-Palestinian rights, and people will give cover to real anti-Semites. I mean, that's literally what we're seeing, right? We see Starmer, like, just totally not challenging a right-wing anti-Semitic, like, conspiracy theory on air, while also like
to the delegate,
the whole kicking out Corbyn thing, which is like there's some people make the point that like, oh well, that's the problem is you're embracing identity politics, and because identity politics can be misused and the class dimension can be taken out, and it can be used to actually justify systems of power, then we shouldn't be using identity politics. But I feel like that's actually a naive interpretation, because I think any left-wing position can have like this exact same effects. Historically, we've seen this been done. I mean, unless you think fucking China is actually a properly socialist nation, it is probably the best example of taking a left-wing project or ideas that are fundamentally for the most marginalized, fighting for them, and then like combining it with like the state form and systems of oppression.
Powers, apparently.
That like it's not having that done is actually like it's a very big issue that is probably not necessarily related to the left-wing viewpoint. Meaning like even very good perspectives of the world can be co-opted.
Apparently, of the General Secretary. It has been brought to his attention that things were said that may be in breach of the infamous clause 218.
Even if
and
you're
that's
a dingus,
so there's no timetable.
The worst of the worst. Like Pol Pot is an example of ostensibly left using some sort of left aesthetic, but then doing just incredibly reactionary right wing. Is it genocide? Because it was of their own group. Isn't there's a specific word for that?
Well, there's no suggestion that you should put.
I think again, it would be naive to look at that and then think, well, the Marxist project has failed because it can be used to do this. Is it democide? That's the specific word, right? I think. I don't know. Yeah.
In any representations, there's no charges. There's no evidence presented. It's just you may be in breach. So lots of us have replied saying, I'm sorry, what am I supposed to do about this? When are you going to tell me what the procedure is? And so that's the state most of us are in, certainly the state that Gary Leffley and I are in. So it's either fast track to expulsion, which is possible under the current system, the one that has been heavily criticised by the EHRC. The only good thing it said, actually, was a realisation that the system is...
language. I mean, fucking Christ. Wasn't that yesterday where, like, Tucker Carlson said some vaguely left-wing thing and people were like, what? Based? Breaking, heartbreaking, worst person you know says really cool thing. It's like, you fucking idiots. You think you can convert Tucker Carlson? You are putty in his fucking hands, you morons.
Is completely unfair and unjust and lacking in natural justice. So it could be fast-tracked to expulsion, or it could be a long, drawn-out suspension, because while we're suspended, we can play no role in the party. We can't attend meetings, we can't stand for positions, and so on. So it's one of the two, but we don't know.
Moving on to some sort of broader topics. You're a co-founder of Jewish Voice for Labour. It was an organisation which was...
Would democide apply to massacre of communists in Indonesia? I think a lot of... I remember reading somewhere that actually quite a few of the communists were ethnically Han Chinese. So you could probably also argue that the Jakarta stuff is genocide too.
Prominent in much of Corbyn's, or much of the period where Corbyn was leader. It's now been, I mean, thoroughly demonised and in many quarters marginalised. How do you look back at sort of the past 4 years and the history of that organisation? Well, still the present history, obviously, but the first 4 years of its existence.
All cops are bad cops.
We're only founded in 2017 by Jews who had joined the party enthusiastically when Corbyn came in as leader at the end of 2015, because we could see how Jewish fears and concerns, genuine, honestly held fears and concerns, were being cynically manipulated. I mean, really, as a result of our experience, being perhaps the boldest defenders of Jeremy and his allies for the last couple of years, we could see straight away that this was not about anti-Semitism. And I think what's happened most recently with the ratcheting up of the silencing, this is no longer about... There's no pretense, really, that it's about dealing with anti-Semitism.
I would say that it's irony, but it's just sort of predictable that, like, the concerns about anti-Semitism on the left's part of the party was, like, combined with, like, silencing Jewish people in the party that were, like, in their actual concerns.
HASL.
Sahar here.
What we're doing is we're silencing critics of the leadership over a whole range of issues.
With the chance the UK falls apart in the next 60 years... Meaning one or more of the countries break away? Oh, 100%. I mean, Scotland's going pretty quickly. The next possibility they have to leave, they're getting out. Because Brexit solidified that. Northern Ireland, who knows? Something I didn't realize is the Protestants in Ireland, or in Northern Ireland, actually form a majority. And they do not want to fucking join Ireland. They definitely do not. So who knows? Who knows about that? The Welsh, maybe. I think and maybe this is stupid. Oh no, that's probably stupid actually. But yeah, I think Scotland is the best chance to leave. North Ireland is more likely to leave than Scotland.
Now, in our case,
Welsh is really upset about English changing traditionally Welsh names. I mean, they're all... England is going to leave the UK, yeah. It's falling apart, basically.
It seems that it is illegitimate for a chair of a CLP to express his discontent with the way the leader is failing, in his view, to deal with the Tories and their mishandling of the pandemic and so on. And also, it's not allowed for him to express a view about the way people are being silenced in the party. So you're silenced when you want to point out that there is silencing going on. And the silencing, we've seen it happening. We knew what was going on. We tried to alert people to it. But the sensitivities about the way the anti-Semitism issue was constantly wheeled out as a justification for not hearing certain people. It's become like, you know, the character in Harry Potter, he who shall not be named, Voldemort. Sorry, oops, dear, I said it. There are people like Jackie Walker, like Chris Williamson, like Mark Wadsworth, a whole number of others who have been consigned to outer darkness with the shadow of anti-Semitism hanging over them, although they are not anti-Semite and have done nothing that justifies
Return of the
that.
Troubles. Yeah, I mean the Protestants would fucking not want that. I think there was some view by like some of the IRA during the Troubles that like, oh, okay, like the reason the Protestants are mad is just because they're a part of the Union. Like as soon as the British Army leaves, they'll be fine. And I don't know if that's true. That's probably an incorrect assessment.
In our view.
Like it would still be an
This
issue.
is now
It wouldn't just
used
go,
as
like,
a means of silencing a whole swathe of the political left.
there would still have to be a
And
lot
that pretext that making Jews feel uncomfortable, for which we must read making a section of Jews with a particular political agenda uncomfortable,
Those
is now
goddamn
a reason
Protestants.
for giving up the right to freedom of speech and democracy in the Labour Party. So if I look back at the last few years, I feel very frustrated that we could see what was going on and see where it could lead, and others were too frightened, too cautious, too embarrassed,
yeah, I really don't
too
believe
genuinely confused to actually.
the Republic of Ireland would probably have to be a federation. Yeah, 100%. There'd have to be some sort of like power sharing agreements done, which is well within
Take it on
possibility.
in the way
It's
we
not
could
like
see it needed to be done. So that is why we are now facing increasing
Did Crispin
authoritarianism
talk about this? We can. We'll watch this after. I'll finish this video first.
from the leadership of the party. And it really is, a number of people have said this recently, an if not now moment, that really, if we're not going to stand up and reject the silencing, refuse to be gagged, refuse to accept that a confidentiality clause applies to you, but not to the people who are leaking from within your own constituency, or indeed from within
AP
the
said Bernie was a magnet for anti-Semites. I remember what was it? There was that video of someone holding like a Nazi flag and doing like a Hitler salute at a Bernie rally, and like obviously the full video, it shows that like they are against Bernie and they're trying to make like people at the Bernie rally feel scared. But then like libs screenshotted it and are like, this is look at the real Bernie Sanders supporters, like an anti-Semite or an anti-Semitic Nazi trying to like physically like threaten and intimidate a Jewish politician. And they're like, oh, well, look at the real it's like,
unit.
You fucking idiots.
We are on a very.
It's a good example of something it's similar that's happening here, where it's like as reported by Jewish people in the Labour Party, particularly left-wing ones, that the concern that like anti-Semitism is being used as a way to silence them. It's absurd.
Dangerous,
it's like so
cynical. Slope. I don't know what you think, but when Angela Rayner says that she will spend thousands and thousands, if necessary, what do you think is meant by that necessary? Necessary for what? And it is not necessary for dealing with genuine anti-Semitism to expel thousands of members of this political party. That is clearly absurd. Is it necessary to appease the Board of Deputies of British Jews? Well, the Board of Deputies of British Jews may well be pleased with what's going on, but I don't think they are the people that the current leadership of the party are trying to please. I think they are trying to please those who do not wish to see socialism high on the political agenda in Britain. And I think that was always the agenda.
Ourselves, most of our viewers.
I'm trying to go to my page and like remove that thing, but I have to go to the main page, and the mute button is not
very
working.
Sympathetic to the idea that
so I'll do that later.
The anti-Semitism issue in the Labour Party wasn't necessarily covered in a particularly honest way by the.
Did they win in the most recent election? Has there been a demographic change?
Mainstream media, that there was a lot of factional manoeuvring going on. But do you ever wonder if potentially JVL, Jewish Voice for Labour, lost more friends than it needed to? So I'm thinking of,
No, the DUP won.
say left-wing Jews, someone like John Landsman, who sort of says his experiences of having, loads of people under any comment he makes on social media, sort of saying things that very much sort of lead into anti-Semitic tropes, and that potentially people have seen JVL as an organization who,
I remember hearing
a lot of the time gets it right when it says that's not anti-Semitic, that's not a problem, but who have become sort of so committed to saying that's not anti-Semitic, that's not a problem, that they stop being taken seriously by some people sort of in the middle of the debate?
Bookshelf.
Well, thank you for that question, Michael, because we are often accused of facilitating anti-Semitism. David Hirsch recently said that I was one of the worst purveyors of anti-Semitism in the country, me personally. That was after my Double Down News video went out. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of malice and ill will in comments of that kind, but we have become increasingly sensitive to the need to explain to people who genuinely want to support justice for Palestine in particular, and who have become so angered at accusations of anti-Semitism that they react aggressively and that they use language in an insensitive way.
Which is, again, to say that, like, they are using, and I'm not sure about the specific conditions of it in Britain, but I would assume if it's similar to North America, then like it's a cynical use of anti-Semitism, but anti-Semitism does exist. It's like a real thing. Particularly, like, it's a very imminent quality of far-right movements, anti-Semitism, at least in, Europe and Western society in general. Western, society. When far-right movements pick up, anti-Semitism becomes far more common. I know in America, like last year, a majority, it's like 60% of religious-based hate crimes were against Jewish people, which Wazi Woozy, thank you for the tier 1.
And they do not have regard for genuine.
And the general attempt and sentiment of particularly like right-wing anti-Semites, like people have a hard time conceptualizing this because I think a lot of like Jewish people in America and Canada are like white or treated as white, and so they're like, well, how can anti-Semitism exist if they're treated as white? But the important point to pay attention to is like one of the main points of anti-Semitism, particularly very far-right anti-Semitism, is to try to remove that category, try to take away whiteness as a category for Jewish people. You can see this in like
Jewish
when that becomes clear, then I think the situation becomes a lot more
fears and concerns
obvious.
And when we do anti-Semitism education sessions, which are very interactive and holistic, and look at anti-Semitism in the whole spectrum of othering and forms of racism that are systemic in our society, we have to help people through that. And maybe in the past we didn't make it clear to people that that's what we were doing, because we were constantly on the defensive on behalf of Jeremy, on behalf of his allies. So it became very adversarial, and it was easy for people who were hostile right from the beginning to the entire Corbyn project to pick on these Jews.
Whiteness has been given and taken away. Yeah, which is to say that like there's an assessment of like, well, if a lot of Jewish people are white, then like how can there be anti-Semitism, which is an incorrect way of looking at it. Which is again to say that like even in like America, let's say if like a lot of particularly Ashkenazi Jews are like incorporated into whiteness, does not mean that that's permanent, and doesn't mean that there are people who are actively trying to take that away.
Standing up and defending.
An infamous political event happened in Ireland recently was when a politician tried to remove drunk driving laws because rural people couldn't go socialize and drink in pubs anymore. That is so fucking like
Jeremy as well.
That's the most Irish thing I've ever heard in my life.
We've talked about it before. The wrong kind of Jews, not to be listened to. Not
troll teenagers drawing swastika. No, these are like acts of violence.
Not to be heard.
I can find the particular specific statistic, but yeah, no, those are they're like acts like
at all.
That was Naomi Wimborne Adrissi speaking to me on Tisky Sour on Navarro Media. If you are enjoying
the same way as Cake members starting black people, I would probably, I mean, in terms of intensity, anti-black racism is definitely more common than anti-Semitism in America. But the way that like synagogues are targeted is, of course, it's less intensive, but similar tactics, and done by the same people than like, let's say, like black churches in the South are targeted, for instance. EST17, thank you for the Jeff Bezos bucks.
The show, do remember to hit subscribe. We go live every Monday.
Yeah, I could find the statistic, but yeah, no, it is. It's important to not think that like anti-Semitism is like, oh well, you know, it's like that's a thing of the past in America and in like a lot of the West. I mean, if you go to France, for instance, it's pretty clear that they're a very anti-Semitic society, for instance. Change the DUI. Oh, did you the 420 thing? Oh, that's bait. It's fake. I'm sorry. I got you. I'm sorry. It's fake. I'm sorry. Is Europe still anti-Semitic? It's much more anti-Semitic mainland Europe than
somebody who said.
Okay, this is Matt talking about Britain breaking up.
Yeah, thank you. The reason somebody said sort out your audio, mate, and it triggered me because British people I am done with. I'm done with hearing anything from British people. They are about to just blow themselves up and sink into the North Atlantic on purpose because they just are too fucking miserable to deal with one another. They had a total possibility. They had a chance to fucking be a functioning country. They had a guy who was standing there in front of them and saying, hey, you fucking pussy, disgusting trolls, how about you quit being miserable for 1 second of your life and believe in each other just enough to fucking press a button in a goddamn voting booth. And they couldn't be asked to do it. Instead, they would rather fucking just pull a giant cork out of the sink hole, out of the fucking the drain, and just let them swirl into the ocean. Good fucking riddance. After birthing this monstrosity, after birthing global capitalism,
yeah, it's really their fucking fault.
Bereft after your kid ran away, ran across the water, seek its fortune in the West, and now you're just the sad, pathetic, gutted, emptied shell, and now you're gonna die like an octopus that is.
All your economy is just fucking like. All your major ports are just like ex-slave ports, like any like, you know, staying power of the British, of the fucking whole British island is just a pure vestige of how incredibly exploitative they were for hundreds of years, you know, controlling like a quarter of the world's land.
Release their spores, even though you didn't have to. You could have had some dignity. And no one can say that they did not have every fucking chance to go a different direction. They had one of the only decent people that hideous island has produced, Jeremy Corbyn, telling them every day to their face that it doesn't have to be this way. And the miserable fucking bog monsters decided, no, he's not. He's lying. It can't be real. It's a trap because if everyone around here is like me, and I am so awful and miserable and shitty and pale and grotesque and nasty and disconnected and antisocial. Well, then none of us can ever get together on anything. Why not just go down pretending it's the Blitz again, getting national cohesion? Like basically what Brexit was is an attempt by the British people to regain a moment that they all think they actually cared about one another, and that was World War II. That was the emergency. That was the keep calm and carry on moment when they had meaning in life because they had an understanding of themselves that went beyond their individuality. They were part of a country that was under attack from evil and that was fighting it.
And the funniest thing is, it's not even, the country isn't even Britain anymore. It's England. They're not, like, most of the right wing, you see, like, the Brexit party are, like, we're an English party. You see Farage holding up, like, the English flag. They're so racist that they're like, bloody hell, mate. We don't want any of the rest of our empire. We don't want Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales. We want England to be its own country.
And their struggle and sacrifice in that context had a virtue. And they want it again. That's why they're jacking off at the idea about all the food they won't be able to eat. Now they're going to have to do victory gardens and stuff and ration potatoes because they need to get that back, because they can't imagine any other way to get it. Even though Jeremy Corbyn was standing there right there, hey, if you guys want to have like national sense of purpose and mission, we don't have to do austerity to ourselves masochistically, you fucking repressed Victorian freaks. How about we create we turn this country out, and we take it from being a business enterprise and turn it into a country, an actual like civic project. A civic project of governance and a civic project of improvement, rather than just a civic project of dour withstanding of pain, a dour endurement because that's conceivable to them, because national unity through austerity is conceivable, because in that case you're operating out of fear. You're operating out of fear. You're operating out of afraid of something being worse. Yes. Huddling underneath the tube, waiting to get blown up. Yes, cutting a bean into 3 pieces like in a fucking Looney Tunes cartoon for dinner. That's unpleasant, but it's better than the Nazis taking over. It's better than a goose step on your neck and fucking concentration camps on the Thames. But here, now Corbyn's not anti-austerity pledge for national purpose, that was appealing to the idea of
being a unionist, either Ulster or Scottish, is the most cucked position. They're completely cucked by the English. The English don't even want them. Yeah, that's something I heard before, that like one of the main reasons the British haven't gotten rid of, or I guess the English haven't gotten rid of Northern Ireland, is because they're like worried about what the Ulster Protestants would do. Like they would be a massive liability. Like the Ulster unionists are scarier after independence than the Catholic Irish are when they are dependent, when they are part of the state.
Love the idea of doing something better.
It's not even beneficial.
They can't imagine that because they don't love anybody, including themselves. And of course, it's not like we're much better than that. They're just further along in this process of alienating themselves from the world because they started before we did, and there's fewer of them, which means that it intensifies, like the generational pathogens.
You should sue Akinator for libel. You're thinking of you and you guessed Caitlin Bennett. Yeah, I don't think I'm on Akinator.
Multiply over time.
I don't. Is there like an algorithmic trip that like you have to get a certain amounts, and it get. And I haven't hit that yet. So
they're just all so miserable.
That yet. I hope I never do.
That they can only operate off of. They can only be socially. They imagine that they can only be socially compelled by.
Did Ulster vote for Brexit? Can we see? Let me see Brexit map. Because I know the Scots universally voted against it. No, they were Remain. Northern Ireland Remain. 62% voted Remain.
A fear of punishment of some kind in the form of, well, all right.
I wonder, what is the... In terms of, like... Because I know, like, these regions are more, like, Catholic. And then these are more Protestant. I guess they don't want a border back. Fairly common sense.
Britain sucks, but it's better than becoming, a completely Polish, denatured, capital, dissolved department of Europe.
Yeah.
Which will be miserable in a different and worse way. Those are horrors beyond imagining. Whereas I can imagine what it would be like to have to have a victory garden. My grandpa talks about it, and he talks about how everybody was happier back then. We're going to make it happen again. And they had the chance. They had the signpost. They said, no, thank you. We're too traumatized
Protestants
by our
voted
own.
Lieb,
We've
Urban
been too
voted
defeated
Remain.
by victory
Okay.
because all of this stems from the fact that these are the monsters who destroy the world. These are the monsters who set out more than anyone. They were the most successful ones anyway, among the Europeans, the ones that set out to
Obsessed with
subdue the
Sartre,
world
his philosophy
and
is
to turn it
interesting.
and to
I think
turn
it's okay.
everything in it away
I had
from
a
everything
Sartre
else and
phase,
towards
too.
itself. They started it. Their culture's been molded and completely driven around that central
It's a good
premise
starting point, too,
since
for
the dawn
conceptual
of
philosophy stuff.
capitalism. And now they find themselves a husk where they don't even have they have lost for many more years than us the dream of plenty that we were able to sustain because of the fantasy first of our Western expansion and then the global bounty of the post-war dominance that we enjoyed, the empire that we held before the borders closed off and before the myth lost its potency. Before we had to turn back inward and try to find a way to deal with one another, having developed no social bonds in like 40 years, having generated no social trust in 40 years. Well, it's been a lot longer for the Brits. So you can't, as with anything, you can't blame them. But I sure as shit don't have to fucking listen to them. I sure as shit don't have to listen to them condescending to me with their goddamn fancy accents and their dumb slang, calling me their mate. I'm not your fucking mate.
Yeah, British people or English people is
And
an
of course,
oxymoron.
Americans can't get too cocky because we're right behind them. We are right behind them.
America's the second.
We have more. We have more.
No
loot
cyberpunk
to
today.
burn through before we get to the Mexican standoff.
Free dairy is what,
But it'll be very
people
interesting
imagine
to see
Chaz
how
was
much
gonna be,
self-inflicted damage will come from this, just because of their refusal to have any faith in each other.
Yeah, it's rough. The British, specifically the English, I guess, as that will become a country soon. At least you have universal healthcare for now. Were you playing Cyberpunk on a PS5? Absolutely not. I got a 2070 Super, folks. I'm decked out. Actually, did I install Discord? I did. Okay. Walked outside, saw British people, day ruined. That's true. I'm sure that's the experience of anyone living in Britain. Yeah. It would be funny to see like the British Empire in 1914, and it's like incredibly massive, and then, British Empire 130, let's say, years later, and it's just England. Like even Wales is gone. Cornwall is gone too. Is Cornish still like a distinct entity? Have they been culturally assimilated for the most part into Britain or into the English? We can watch Cody. This is linked. We need Northumbrian independence. Is Wales still a distinct entity? I think more so in the north part of Wales. I think Welsh is spoken more. I think in the southern, which is more urban, more cities, I think there's some more English. Although they still have a distinct Welsh identity. They haven't destroyed that.
2020. A year we won't soon forget. So many
just England, the Falklands, and Gibraltar,
heroes bravely stepped up to the plate in 2020. But only one can be Time Magazine's Person of the Year. What does it take to be considered for this lofty title?
Free North now.
Courage, tenacity, and honesty, to name just a few. It's hard to find somebody who embodies all of these noble traits, but folks, Time did it again. They found someone who saw an opportunity to give back this year. This person unzipped our collective fly and put his tender paw down our pants.
Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, might have just experienced...
Rudy really is the person of the year. Absolutely. 100%.
One of the most awkward scenes in the Borat film.
Of course, our person of the year is none other than Rudolph Williams Louis Giuliani, Esquire. The only man tough enough to give himself COVID just so he could...
The far right in Ireland have attempted to appropriate Irish Republican politics.
Beat it. And folks...
That's not a surprise. Because it is like a nationalism. And so there's a nationalist aesthetic created around it.
Cops.
And then you just ignore all of the like left-wing politics. Juice for Cheeses, thank you for the
Rudy
2 months.
Giuliani loves to beat it. Just the sight of him makes us melt, doesn't it, folks? In 2020, no one has touched us or themselves in quite the way Rudy has. Let's start at the beginning.
And folks, if you have a Twitch Prime or a Prime Gaming, make sure to use it on me if you haven't. We have 27 tier 1 emotes, really good stuff. I'm going to be streaming a lot more because I finished school.
Spotlight of the Donald Trump impeachment trial beckoned, and Rudolph Giuliani answered.
Oh yeah, most
Joining
of the English
me now
voters
is the
were
man on
fine.
the other side of that attack, former New York City mayor and attorney for the president,
The big
Rudy
one.
Giuliani.
In fact, Rudy was
11.
on TV so often, he had to start borrowing Tucker Carlson's old bow ties in some sort of twisted
what the fuck is
sisterhood
the
of the
bow
traveling
tie?
pants, but for wealthy dorks. Rudy
What a
even
miserable-
offered to testify during the trial. And in what would prove to be a decisive move, Trump's defense team did not call this man to answer questions under oath. It just proves that even in his absence, Rudolph Giuliani made a difference for our nation. As a student of the law, Giuliani is top-notch. As a diplomat, he's simply on another level. Don't forget that in January, the New York Times reported that the former mayor took time out of his busy schedule to lend a hand in beautiful Ukraine with no promise of personal gain. Rudy flew across the world just to talk to a top aide to the president of Ukraine for no reason at all, just to be nice. I guess he heard he had a tough week. What a saint.
It's a lot more the
What a
same
leader.
schedule,
No,
just
I am
skipping
this
those
type of a
days.
joker guy.
I guess, yeah, and like longer. Maya, thank you for the gift sub.
Oh,
and then also QAA stream.
Okay, done doing that. I was mostly being sarcastic just now. Quite the
Returning
tone.
class, thank you for the
9 months of submitting
Let's
myself to
go.
Frenchophobia, not being held accountable for weird W.
That's right, baby. This is a stream where nothing is held
For this
accountable.
show, I know. But what I wasn't being insincere.
I log on every
All
day
cops
and
are
I'm not
bad
held
cops.
accountable. That's how it works. Eliana Diva, thank you for the 2 months.
Is that Rudy
I'm gonna keep playing this, but there was a hype train. If you would like to contribute, you get extra emotes, I guess, if you give me money during this. So that's cool. Redacted 420, thank you for the 100 bits. We have 27 tier 1 emotes. They're all very cool. They're great.
Giuliani is the person of the year.
100%.
No one on this earth
Easily.
is better
Not even
suited
close.
to being the cursed avatar of
Ian's last
2020
person, thank you for the
than
100 bits.
Rudy. Guys, Rudy Giuliani is so 2020, he just got COVID. Any word on how?
Yo, takes out the handkerchief, blow his nose,
King.
takes it booger side in, smears his hands all over it, wipes it into his lips,
And on his
all over
face.
his face.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Incredible.
Let's backtrack
Incredible.
to the start of the year.
What a
Impeachment
truly
was
disgusting
merely
human
the
being.
amuse-bouche for the main course of shit on a stick that was the last 365
Claytoni,
days
thank you for
of
the 100
life.
bits.
As COVID raged through the country in the spring, Giuliani was a loyal, spewing mouthpiece for the Trump administration, popping up on Fox News like a hungry raccoon peeking his head out from the inside of a dumpster. The message from Giuliani was in lockstep with GOP talking points. This virus was either a hoax created by liberals or an insidious form of social conditioning designed by a combination of China, Bill Gates, a cabal of pedophiles operating out of a pizza restaurant, or Hugo Drax from the movie Moonraker.
The human race, as you know it, will cease to exist.
Quick check on the hoax? Okay. During the summer months, we faced the collective reckoning of the George Floyd uprisings. So much of what went into the streets to protest last summer was the culmination of a project Rudy Giuliani began in New York, when the NYPD began its infamous Broken Windows Initiative, which encouraged police officers
Dragonfly,
to crack
thank you for the
down on
habits.
minor offenses like graffiti and jumping subway turnstiles. The ridiculous theory behind this was that by intimidating people over small infractions, it would prevent larger crimes. Yes, some of us used
How'd
to
that
think
work,
that
you
arresting
fucking
someone
idiot?
for panhandling was a good way to scare international drug cartels. Broken Windows made superstars out of ghouls like Rudy and New York Police Commissioner Bill Bratton, who touted the perceived success of their heavy-handed, jackbooted
Hugo
fever
Drax
dream.
sounds like a fake
Sure,
name.
crime stats went down,
French
but no one
apologists get
considered
the
the
sword, I am
consequences
sorry,
of
I don't make
criminalizing
the rules.
poverty,
Maya,
which
thank
is
you for
exactly
two
what Broken
9 months.
Windows
Thank you for
did
two
by
things,
arresting
Maya.
people
9
who
months.
couldn't afford
Absolutely.
subway tickets or a hot
Absolutely.
meal. In the early 2000s, cities around the country adopted similar methods to broken windows. The double whammy of this draconian policy and the hysteria around 9/11 led
really
to the
was a part of that.
supercharging of already militarized police departments. There is a direct line between broken windows and I can't breathe. And if you don't see
100%.
it, you're giving the police way too much
pretty
credit.
obvious.
The whole policy was a free pass to terrorize citizens to prioritize the rampant development and gentrification that plagued the first 2 decades of the 21st century. In the end, Rudy Giuliani was actually named the real Time Magazine Person of the Year in 2001.
yeah.
And Bill Bratton did what
Christ.
most successful New York grifters do and moved to sunny Los Angeles, the Vatican for urban warfare
Of course he was
enthusiasts.
Time of the Year in
Why did Bratton
Person of the
leave New
Year.
York? Because little Rudy thought he was getting too much credit for cleaning up the city. And that is the crux of the man's worldview. It begins
Rudy has
and
always been an
ends
awful
with
human
what is
being. He's
beneficial
always
to
been
Rudy
incompetent.
Giuliani. His political career seemed over at the start of 2001.
Kovanich.
He had to
Thank you,
withdraw from his quixotic Senate race against Hillary Clinton thanks to a prostate cancer diagnosis. His affair with Judith Nathan made national headlines. It was over. And then, the destruction of the World Trade Center made him a mascot for our collective anguish. Rudy rode that horse into the...
Saw a cool argument why QAnon is popular in the U.S. relates to increasing globalization and diversity, leading to white Christians no longer being the dominant cultural force. Some sort of trauma that comes with this loss. There's another aspect of the argument that talks about evangelicals. That's interesting. That, like, you know, capital doesn't need...
the ground, to the point that even Joe Biden got a zinger in on him.
Rudy Giuliani, there's only 3 things he mentioned in a sentence, a noun and a verb and 9/11. I mean, there's nothing else.
But it was obvious to
Killer.
anyone why Rudy mentioned 9/11 so much. It was like Al Bundy talking about scoring
That is
4
a great
touchdowns
one.
in one
So
game
shout
for Polk
out to
High.
Joe for that.
That's all he's got. That's
Thank
all
you for the
he's
hype train,
ever
everybody.
got. But the man is addicted to the spotlight. He needs it. He craves it, like I yearn for Taco Bell to bring back the 7-layer burrito. You f***ers know I love that thing, and you get rid of it to spite me specifically? How dare you? After flaming out horribly in the 2008 GOP presidential primary, Rudy slithered back into the shadows, content to make money on speaking engagements and a consulting firm. That is, until he discovered the grift that keeps on grifting. Racism. Rudy smelled the acrid stench of Trumpism in the air in 2015, telling a Republican fundraiser audience that
Yeah,
Barack
it really
Obama
is an eternal
doesn't love
grift.
America because he, quote, wasn't brought up the way you were brought up, and I was brought up through love of this country. Trumpism was Rudy's path back to relevance, and he took it with gusto. 2 years ago, Trump formally added Rudy to his personal legal team. Today, he's the last man standing, thanks to his preternatural ability to kiss 2 full cheeks worth of ass all at once,
yeah, he
while
is really the
seemingly
last
having
one
no
standing.
remorse or awareness of the deeply embarrassing ways in which he continues to tarnish the good
Ru-
name of the human
Rudy is like the
race.
The clear line to the Trump administration. He's the only one that survived it.
Put down your crumb.
Folks, if you thought the
Yeah, even
Borat 2
Bar's
scene
out.
was going to be the
Yeah.
nadir of Rudy Giuliani's 2020,
Wow.
you were sorely mistaken.
It says a lot
After
about our
all,
society.
Rudy didn't get his pants off in that movie. But he did, metaphorically, during the last few weeks of Donald Trump's sweat-stained gambit to pistol-whip democracy and steal the presidency at a press conference at Four Seasons Hotel. Sorry, I mean the even more popular
funny.
Four
So-
Seasons Total Landscape.
So funny,
yes,
dude.
that happened in the same year as
That's
Borat.
so good.
Also, when you say that there's no evidence, the people standing behind me are called witnesses.
Yes, those witnesses got their day in court to further humiliate themselves, Rudy, Trump, and everyone unlucky enough to have
Amazing.
to watch their testimony for their YouTube channel.
The poll book is completely off.
Queen.
Completely off.
Off by
That
30,000?
I'd say that poll book is off by over 100,000.
Over
I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. Let me see Rudy's hair melting, okay? I need a break.
Rudy Giuliani getting hot under the collar today.
I don't know what you need to wake you up.
He was sweating so much, his hair dye was running down his face.
He's trying, folks. He's trying so hard against insurmountable odds to achieve his goal. In that respect, I can relate to him. I've been trying to get Taco Bell to bring back the 7-layer burrito for the last 3 months, and they don't even return my calls. I get up every morning
Chris
and fire off
Calder
a
in the
tweet
newest
to
tab? Oh, we gotta
Taco
watch
Bell,
that
hoping
next.
and praying that they'll
That's
respond
incredible.
saying, I'm sorry, we know that the 7-layer was a beloved menu item that appeals to both vegetarians and meat enthusiasts alike. It's coming back, and we're renaming it the Cody Special Burrito. That hasn't happened yet. I keep failing, just like Rudy Giuliani, the last lawyer in the nation without a conscience who hasn't pissed off Donald Trump yet, and who has lost over 40 lawsuits connected to the 2020 election. Failure.
She was wine drunk. There was some drug suppressing her central nervous system. It could have been like a Xanax.
After failure piles up
Who
before
knows?
him, just like all of us failing to keep it together through the worst year of our lifetimes. If you squint hard enough, Rudy Giuliani's persistence in the face of reality is almost inspiring.
The answer.
point of order.
The answer that I gave you is they didn't bother to interview a single witness, just like you.
How is that not relatable? Whomst among us has not? Yes, Rudy Giuliani
Yeah, she
is our
was in, I
2020
think that's
person
more
of the
likely.
year. Because not only has his depraved, self-centered narcissism been at the heart of all of our societal misery, but he's also the perfect representation of all of our sad attempts to be productive during the year of hell. A beautiful metaphor for the dumbest and worst timeline imaginable. The
That
man
is funny. Wine moms are probably Xanax Klonopin. I
caught
mean, maybe
COVID
it could have been wine too.
shortly after
Very
this
possibly
public
wine. Maybe
exchange.
both. Who knows?
Miss Jacob? Yes. I don't want you to do this if you feel uncomfortable. But would you be comfortable taking your mask off so that people could hear you more clearly?
Can you hear me now?
Can everyone hear it clearly?
We can hear it. We can hear you.
Okay.
So congratulations, Rudy Giuliani. Just like you said almost 20 years ago.
How is that
we
real?
will never forget. Speech! Speech!
They didn't bother to interview a single witness.
Speech.
Classic. The man is farting. Rudy be farting. All right, let's watch Not Even a Show now, because they got that he prank called that drunk lady. That was Rudy. I have no clue how he gets these fucking numbers. This is a very great show. You should go watch it. Also streams on Twitch.
Am I on the air?
Yeah. No Prank Radio.
Hey, what's going on? It's Murky calling. How you guys doing? I'm loving the show so far.
Man, that's good. We appreciate you calling. What you up to this morning?
Well, I'm doing my job. I work at the Not Even a Show. I do the cold opens for them, which is actually what we're doing right now. We're in the middle of it, and I'm on a crazy
All Gas No Breaks
streak.
was on
I got
stage
like
at the DC
6 in a
film. Probably
row,
no, I
trying
didn't
for
see
7
that.
in a row. Basically, I call the shows, and I just need you guys to say, let's start the show, and then I'm 7 for 7, and that's about as good as it gets.
Is he gonna get it?
We can do that.
Yay!
Oh, you guys are wonderful. I love it. Yeah, if you could say it in unison, everybody in the studio. 1, 2, 3. Let's start the show. That would just be crazy.
All right. Well, this is crazy.
Well, this is crazy. I mean, we've already been challenged.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna be challenged and then drop the gauntlet.
You want us to sing something for you too?
Do you want to be a snowman? Oh, here we go. Come on, let's go and play. I never
So
see
we're
Murky
saying,
anymore.
Let's start
Come
the
out the
show.
door. It's like Murky
Such
is gone
good vibes.
away.
Murky.
We used to be
That's
best
so,
buddies.
that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. That's more than I even bargained for. But let's do it. Everybody at once.
Wait, hold on. This is 2 minutes long. Oh, it's the wrong one. Oh, you can see my. That's fine. Whatever. That's fine. Leaked.
Turn it up. Mega gang, gang, mega gang, gang, mega gang, mega gang,
He's right there. How is that real?
Hold on. I'm a gun-toting patriot, God-fearing patriot. Pricing while they mad, 'cause I really
That's so cool.
Free speech, it's on my mind. Hold on. Ain't nobody taking it. Gun gun-toting, Bible-reading, God-believing truth. Speaking American, it's MAGA season. Democrats committing treason. I know they think it's sweet, but you don't know who you dealing with. It's for free, thinkers only. You ain't got no membership. They free General Flynn out the cage, cause he innocent. Party Roger Stone, cause the world know that he innocent.
How does this happen? How does he do this? How does he? Oh, it's literally right there.
Tell Justice Smollett that I know this MAGA country. Tell China we know they trying to play us like some dummies. I looked deep into it and I did the math. Why did Obama send money to that Wuhan lab? What is George Soros doing with all of his cash? Why did China take that horror guy and drop him a bag? Why is there so much propaganda? Funny you ask. How about that Bill Gates vaccine? Sorry, I'll pass. Gun-toting patriot, God-fearing patriot, Bryson Water gun-toting Bible.
Oh my God, look at this. Just totally ruining their fucking set. There we go, it's fine. No one cares. There we go, it's back. That's awesome. Wow, they're really fucking it up for him there. I'm mad for the performers for that awful audio set. That's incredible though. How the fuck does he get on these things? I can't wait for the video of that.
Let's start the show
and we can get this thing going.
All right, here we go.
A Tribe Called Q.
1, 2, 3. Let's start the show.
We did it.
Oh my
How's
goodness,
that?
best one yet. You are a dream come true. I love you. Bye.
We're good at stuff. Well, no, we're not a dream come true. Look at that.
His name is Murky.
Murky. Hey, Murky was a little murky. Does anybody? There you go. You got the tape machine going?
No, I ain't got a clue what just happened.
Sorry if you thought it so, but this is not even a show.
It's NEAS Saturday night.
Folks,
there's a new kid in town.
I don't think the SNL is
It's all
DMCA.
right,
but I don't
because
know.
I'm Dustin Diamond. No, seriously though, I'm here hosting NEAS Saturday night. My name's Dustin Diamond, aka Screech, aka Samuel Powers, and I starred on the famous sitcom Saved by the Bell, and also the famous scat-based porno parody Saved by the Smell. And that's true.
It's great.
Another thing that's true is that I once did a
I'm
show
gonna
in
believe that.
Vancouver, and someone Chris knows opened up for me. And after the show, I asked the opener if he wanted a photograph. And then once the photograph was taken, I tried to charge him for the photograph. Anyways, we've got a wonderful episode for you, as we've got the return of J.J. McCartney, plus
That's so
a Butch
funny.
call to the Flat Earth Society and an Officer Steve call. First things first, though. Rudy Giuliani's been off the air this week as he's been busy hoarding the coronavirus vaccine. So we decided to call some of his friends.
I'm so
First
excited.
up, his star witness from Michigan, Melissa Carone. Check it out.
Queen.
Hold up. Episode amendment. After the episode was already completed, the fellas decided to try a little bit harder to get a hold of Rudy Giuliani, and they eventually succeeded, calling
so
him on his
2 and
cell
1.
phone.
Let's
check
go.
that out.
Hello?
Hey, is it Rudy?
Yes.
Hey, Rudy, how's it going? It's Kent with Stop the Steal Initiative. I just wanted to pass on. I had a piece of information that was provided to me, and somebody provided your phone number and said that I should pass it on to you. You could potentially use it. It would
Tell
be
me.
verifiable.
Tell me what it is.
It's the fact that you married your cousin.
Got his ass. Is that DMCA? I don't know.
Well, okay, take care.
All right, bye.
Sorry, my cousin. Okay, yes, I'm out of here.
You haven't hung up yet, Rudy. And now we watch the Melissa Carone
That would be so funny if you forgot to hang up. And you
clip.
could have.
Check it out.
All right. Rated teal, bizarre person.
This is Melissa.
Oh, hi, Melissa. My name's Michael Farrar. I'm calling at Beltway Connect. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. All our calls are obviously recorded for potential dissemination. Just want to make sure that's okay.
Genius. Because you have to, so there's laws for prank calling. In most states in America, you have to have both-way permission to record a phone call. So you can't record something without telling someone and then release it. But he fucking...
Sure.
Okay.
Genius.
What did you have to drink before that
So
hearing?
slick.
Did you have alcohol to drink before that hearing?
So slick. I love it.
Are you serious?
Well, yeah, it's a lot of the reports are indicating people felt like you were under the influence of alcohol. Is that true or is that false?
That is completely false. Actually, you can get a hold of some of my family members and friends that I've had for years, and they will confirm that this is just my personality.
I see. And the reports about you sending...
That's honest, because obviously she's lying, but like that's even funnier, right? Like that would be much funnier than her actually being drunk.
The sexual videos to the ex of your boyfriend, is there truth to that report?
There's absolutely no truth to that report, and I will inform you that
She
I
might
have
be drunk.
2 very high-profile attorneys taking care of those cases.
Well, that's
Rudy
good.
on the case,
and the people
baby.
that wrote those.
That's nasty stuff. Well, hey, you're an American patriot. We appreciate you going and putting yourself out there like that. I believe you. I believe that you weren't drunk.
If you listen to the whole testimony, you will. If you listen to the whole testimony,
I did.
She's drunk.
There's
She's
no
fucking
way that anyone could ever assume I was drunk.
Now,
drunk.
Rudy tried to stop you at one point. Did you see that? And you just ignored him. Was that because he married his cousin and you don't respect him because he married his cousin?
I respect Rudy. He's a great person, and he did not marry his cousin. I don't believe that.
He did. He
He
married
did. You
his
can look it up.
second cousin a long time ago, and he made love to her a bunch of times. It's in the news. You can read about it.
It's true. He did do that.
The news means nothing to me. The news has published
The
numerous
news
things
is
that are
cucked.
untrue,
I mean, Rudy admitted to it. You
Can
can
I
ask him.
Can I ask for your name again?
My name's Michael Farrar. But
Jesse
anyway,
Farrar's
thank you for
brother.
your time. I appreciate it. It was very nice chatting with you.
Can I
do
ask
appreciate-
you how you got my
Oh,
phone
that's
number?
probably what it is, yeah.
Oh, I was provided to me by one of my sources. But
Okay, and who do you work for?
Who does number 2 work for?
Well, I mean, we all work for everybody when it comes down to it.
Okay, are you a Republican?
No, I'm a far left socialist.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, is this going, or did you call me to have some type of interview or to post something, or would
Yeah,
you like
I'm gonna
to
post
comment?
it.
Can I ask what site this is going to be posted on?
Just on YouTube. I have a small following. I'm a comedian.
I'll give you something
Oh,
good
he's
you
actually
can
saying.
write on.
Okay.
Or something good for your YouTube thing.
Okay.
I have something huge coming out next week. Something that's going to blow this whole case open, and
Wow.
you know, it's really, really, really big. And
Go off, Queen.
Wow.
you know, I really encourage people to tune in, and I will be all over the news.
Wow.
In fact, I think I'm going to be standing next to Trump next week,
Wow.
and I'll probably get a job with at the White House for this.
Wow. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
there's more to come.
JJ McCartney is a radio
All
host
right,
who's
yeah, no,
famous
she is constantly drunk, clearly.
for his appearances on the Not
Well, of
Even-
course she's a cloud chaser. Everyone in that legal team is a cloud chaser. It's literally all for clout.
Even a show. When the election results came out, he stopped doing his show altogether because he was so mad. But this week he returned, and therefore so did we. Check it out.
Yes. I mean, don't be sad for her. She's trying to like make sure the president went, you know. She's clearly a bad person who's doing this selfishly.
Okay, we got Roy on the line. Hang on for a second.
JJ's back,
baby. Somebody's been on hold for a while, so we better check and see who we got on the line here.
There's just like there's like one or two guys watching.
And hello, you're on the JJ McCartney show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Well, I just wanted to say shirt first off, but JJ, I had an honest call.
Yeah, no, there's not a damn thing about you. There's not one thing about you that's honest. You dipshit. JJ Snap! Pardon me, I'm sorry.
Amazing.
Pardon me. What I meant to say was, you dummy. You moron.
Yeah,
you Canadian piece of crap. That's all. But I had a legitimate reason to call. Yeah, the only legitimate reason you have to call is to confess, okay? And you don't want to be calling me to do that.
He's just spamming shirt in the fucking.
There's no honest way for you to get on my show, and so you use subterfuge. Oh, you poor soul, been holding for how long now? And we had self-righteous Roy Taylor. Oh, by the way, let me deal with Roy real quickly. Oh, you might not be able to,
Mods!
but I will. Thank you. Yeah, you got it.
You block him. He's saying shirt.
Let's see. How do we deal with this moron? Well, it's pretty simple, really. And by the way, Jen, I appreciate you being there. Really do.
Oh, sure.
Truly do. There seems
this
to
guy
be
is some literal nobody.
There would seem to be an
he
issue.
He likes to prank call.
And
I guess how long has he been prank calling? How long has Chris been prank calling JJ? Like 3 years?
And we're trying to find.
He just calls in and says shirt, and then he flips. He just like fucking.
Yeah, this is all right. We're gonna get. Please pardon me while I take care of this. Okay, that's done. Confirmed. Bye,
He gets angry
Roy.
without like.
If you would like to, if you'd
say
like
the
to
word
find
shirt
yourself a
in your-
life somewhere, we'd certainly
in the
encourage
column.
you to do that. We truly would. Thank you all for being here today, folks. This is the JJ McCartney
I
Show.
wonder if he like. I wonder if he gets mad. And I don't think I can do this song because it's probably copyright. I don't want to get DMCA'd. I wonder if JJ gets mad when he hears the word shirt in conversation, like instinctively.
For used to be a boy in blue himself. Let's check it out.
What is this?
I don't know. Good morning. Who's this?
Oh, hello. Am I on the air?
Yes, you are.
Steve O'Path, baby.
Thank you for taking my call this morning. My name is Steve. I'm calling from Idaho Falls, Idaho.
Yes. What can I do for you?
Sorry. Well, are you already taking an attitude with me? Sorry, I'm a law enforcement officer, and I wanted to phone in and discuss.
Well, hold on just a second.
Cops are bad cops.
An attitude
Take the
with you?
Kush pill, listen to a balding man in his 30s rant and poor
You're
lighting and
former law
audio
enforcement.
at
Well, I'm current
360p
LEO,
for a whole hour.
I
You
think
need
that
this
trumps
in
it
your
a little
life.
bit.
And
I
thank
mean,
you,
I thought
13
that it
months.
is
Absolutely.
Why are you calling
Thank
from
you for
Idaho
the
Falls?
founder badge.
Just
Well, I was listening to the show, watching the show on Facebook, the Facebook Live.
Thank you.
Okay, and you've cut me off once again. Sorry, I'm not looking for any sort of a confrontation here, but it feels like you feel like being ex-law enforcement, you have to challenge me on these things. I want to call in and talk about the unfair treatment that we're receiving in the media. Do you agree with me or not?
Who is we? Help me out here. If you're sorry.
The police, sir.
Don't get on attitude, sir.
Okay, I'm on your side. I'm an ex-cop.
Unfair treatment.
My
So
God,
does Rayford.
I believe for about
The funniest thing here also is that they're calling each other
fact that
sir.
law enforcement is getting an unfair treatment across the board, and not
What
just
was
from
your
the media.
position? What was your position in law enforcement, sir?
I was a patrol officer and also was a crime scene photographer.
How many confirmed kills? How many confirmed kills, sir?
Where are you calling from, and who in the Sam Hill is this?
Is this a joke?
Yeah, I think
It's not a joke at all.
I think they
I got
him.
17 on my belt. What are you dealing with?
Go stick it in your ear and goodbye.
Yeah, you got him. The best is when they don't.
Don't count confirmed
They don't
kills.
brag about them either.
But
That's the
officers,
dumbest
that's not their
idiot
job. Is
that
to,
we've talked to in a while.
they're
No,
peace officers.
Peace officers, number
They're
one.
peace
Oh my gosh.
officers.
The only people I know that count confirmed kills are gang members or snipers.
That's it's a bit of a
Yes. So, anyway.
Wow. That was odd.
Isn't that crazy how that's what gang members?
I'll check that call. I got a call ID on that one. We'll check that one after a while and
That
run
was
it.
odd.
Yeah, it was, God, dude, get a life. Anyway,
Butch is fast becoming one of the most popular callers on the channel. He's known as the dumbest person in the entire world, and he loves calling Jamie Chapman at the Flat Earth Society. Check it out.
Flat Earthers. That's incredible.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Can
Oh, is this?
I can hear
Wait, that guy's a flat earther?
you now.
Oh, God, I was just saying that, hello, you didn't hear me.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you.
It's Butch.
What's up, Butch?
This guy's talking in Steven Crowder?
Yeah.
Okay. I got a question
This is
for you
such a
about all
funny-
of this. A question you could help me out with, maybe?
Sure.
What's coronavirus?
Coronavirus?
Loves to talk, but he
These are
don't
the
know
funniest
much.
fucking
He's your
calls.
favorite caller, and his name is Butch.
Because he just
Yeah,
sort of
what
looks
does- what does it
confused,
mean?
the flat
Everybody
earther.
always says it.
It's the COVID virus.
The COVID virus? Is that to stealing the election?
No, it's not COVID virus ain't still in the election.
Because
That's
they're
not what
having
I
just
mean.
like a.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
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 His name is Butch.
Yeah, please watch.
What is it?
Please
What
watch
is
them.
stealing the election? Where's it? Who's? Where are they taking it? Who are they giving it to?
They're trying to give it to Joe Biden
For what?
because they can control him. And they want to go back to the old ways before Donald Trump was up there where they can sell this country out to the highest bidder.
Donald Trump is fat. Does he have a fat belly bottom? Fat belly bottom?
Yeah, he's got a fat belly bottom.
This is so.
I agree.
Yeah.
But how come sometimes the people that says, "Oh, Trump is he's not fat"? I think he is as fat.
He is. He's fat. He's chunky.
Yeah. What happens if when he comes back? Joe Biden gonna be dead?
When he comes back, is Joe Biden gonna be dead?
Does Joe Biden have to go dead if Trump is winning or lose?
No, Trump's gonna win.
Doesn't have to be is dead.
Trump? No, he don't have to be dead.
That's good.
Loves to talk, but he don't know much. He's your favorite
I mean, it's
caller,
not
and his
even like a
name
prank
is
call,
Butch.
but it's awesome.
I don't
It's
like
so
violence,
funny.
Jamie. I used to do.
Please go
I used
subscribe
to
to
love
them.
violence. I don't love it
Subscribe
anymore.
to
Yeah, I
Chris.
don't love it either.
When is the last
And
time
there's
you
a bonus
kissed
episode
somebody
every
on the lips?
week on Patreon.
2 days ago.
That's
you should go
nice.
give her
I
money.
love to do a lip kiss. I kiss my wife on the lips. I say, "I love you, baby girl."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You got a wife?
No, I'm divorced.
I like a kiss on the lips.
I'm trying to read this Mr. Poole thing. We want liberty, not tyranny.
I don't want liberty or tyranny. I just want kisses on the lips.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie.
Well, let's listen to Steven Crowder.
All right, everybody, that's it. The bell
Was
has
that like
rung,
a-
and just like at the beginning of Saved by the Bell, and now it's over. But
that's
pretend
really
it's the bell,
funny.
but at the end. And then Lisa Turtle, that's who I used to love. Is there anything I can do with that?
He just does not give a shit.
Teenage Mutant Lisa Turtle.
It's
I
very
don't know.
funny.
Anyways, we've got a great bonus episode over on the Patreon as there's a quick call to Sebastian Gorka plus Larry Elder, more Butch action, and some Tech Head Terry. You don't want to miss that. I actually did make that thing Saved by the Smell as well. Don't watch it. It's fucking grotesque. Bye.
Yeah, that's great. You should go watch. You should go subscribe to him on YouTube and give him views and all that good stuff. Extremely funny shit. Soonish I'm gonna go onto the QAA stream. So I'll continue. That's at like 6 or so we can raid into that. CD Projekt Red is adjusting Cyberpunk's
Happy Chimbus
distracting
live.
amounts of dildos. I don't think I can show a photo of the dildo outside of the game. The rules are so dumb. Grand Holy Emperor Brom, thank you for the tier 2. At 11 months. Grand Holy Emperor Brom, thank you for the tier 2 at 11 months. Or there's a Liv posting an ES cross. He does, he streams on Twitch. No Prank Radio. I should call in at some point. Yeah, I don't think I can, which is so dumb. That doesn't make any sense. But, whatever. I guess as a free agent, I decided to stream on Twitch, and now I have to play by their rules. As a free individual that's allowed to sell their subjective labor to whichever owner of the means of production is the best. All that shit. Before we go though, because we'll just QAA is the podcast that I'm on. QAnon Anonymous. I will write into it so you can see. It's in probably soonish, but till then, we can watch some Macrisman, which is here's the link for.
I don't really.
Is that good? That boomer,
this broadcast is intended for
boomer spice
mature
to it,
viewers? I don't
it's
know
like
if that's
a good
true.
addition.
I don't know if I would say that we're mature on here.
Let's see, Wednesday.
I'm indoors because
Yeah, getting
it's,
that great armpit shot.
annoyingly rainy out today.
What are the odds that there is at least one person out there in the world somewhere that does want a photo of Matt Crispin's armpit?
It's raining.
Like, I'm
all
sure
over the
there's
place.
there's one guy,
Can't go back to the bunker, even though it's still unseasonably
There's gotta
warm.
be. There's gotta be one.
Have not yet been able to set foot outside.
Do you have something to admit? Someone else
Quite
brought up this armpit. That was not me.
Dismal day indeed. Oh, God damn it. Are people asking about mic volume? I'm going to... Hold on one second. Let me hear it again. I literally am listening to it on Twitch, and it sounds fine. I just listened to it coming through my own speakers.
All cops are bad cops.
Just got arrested by Merrick DeVille. Please help me with a bail. I miss my family.
Easy, thank you for the $3. I'm sorry that a CIA agent wrangled you and arrested
Over
you.
whatever the robots and potential agents provocateur in this goddamn stream are telling me to do. I gotta say, the fact that it sounds crystal clear coming out of the fucking Twitch channel as I'm watching it.
Merrick DeVille is doing Twitch panels now? Fuck off. No. Of course she is. This is the perfect platform for her.
Makes me wonder if you people aren't fucking with me, you are in possession of very shitty fucking audio equipment. And as Robert Downey Sr. said in Boogie Nights, that is a YP. That's not an MP.
She's banned on my chat. Thank you so much. Love my mods.
How's everybody doing tonight? I don't really have anything. I'm kind of cashed out actually. Might not do one tomorrow if I'm not getting if I don't get a little.
We won't watch this for too
version,
long.
but
I'm
that's
just waiting.
often happened. I've come on the stream having no idea what to talk about, and then end up being like, "Holy shit, where'd that come from?" So we'll see. We're gonna take the journey together. Congratulations, by the way, to President Trump for 4 more years.
She's playing Among Us and the Serfs. Oh, really?
The Electoral College has voted, and
I
he
refuse
has
to
enough
ever
electoral
bump
votes
into her.
when
That's terrible.
When Vice President Pence presides over the
What a
certification
fucking grifter.
that he will be president. Several very well-known and trustworthy websites and Twitter accounts have said this, and I have no reason to disbelieve it. So, man, if they did that, it would be the funniest thing in the world. I mean, and the funniest thing about it would be that all of the liberals right now,
all cops are
myself,
bad cops.
Did you see the stuff about the person who runs Coping MAGA?
No, I sort of don't care. But thank you for the $3.
Like pathetic non-coup happen. If they just said, "Oh, yeah, we're,"
that isn't a. I would never be mean to Lance. Lance is a perfect sweetie.
We're not going to certify
Do not be
these
mean to Lance.
votes. We're going to give it to Trump. And even though it violates the Constitution and the letter and spirit of all law, nobody stops them. None of the people who would be shocked by it would be able to do anything about it. Like, that's the truth of it. And I think that's why they feel so insistent on making you be mad. They realize that, like they imagine themselves part of a grand chess game of American progressivism, stretching back to, I don't know, Wilson,
which is so funny.
Something like that.
Because like that's
where
a
they are
lost
battling
chess
like
game.
the behemoth of America's bestial, like populist heart. That they used to think was just dumb, but now think is racist. Because like the changing intellectual composition of liberals and elite liberals,
all cops are bad
elite
cops.
Liberal institutions.
There you go.
They've been in a chess game with reaction.
Drox Populi. Thank you for Jeff Bezos bucks.
Since the progressive movement began, and they have found themselves. And I think they realized that after this election, and they realized that after watching all the norms just get blown away by Trump, and now a situation where they all realize, our formal barriers against just a pure reactionary grasp for power are non-existent. They do not exist. Well, that means you lost the game.
Yeah.
That means you have.
Also, by the way, you guys all lost the game just now. Sorry. I don't know how long you lost the game.
Checkmated. You cannot do any move other than slit your own throat. If you consider yourself part of the liberal project broadly construed, and all these people do, like the way they talk about politics, even if they're just regular people, they talk about the Democratic Party like they're part of it. Like the way Democrats, voters, not even people at like the media level, talk about the Democratic Party as if they're part of a project, which is of course not the case. They're along for the ride. To one degree or another, they're along for the ride. So they've lost because they know in their heart, if we ever did try to get the kind of change that I keep insisting I want to see happen, the kind of change on something like climate change, or even some more emotionally compelling issue like racism or gun control, we're not going to get there without them just taking power, because we now know they could if they wanted to. You've lost, and because you're liberal, you have discounted anything other than politics as you understand it to be the way that we
it's
can
an inherently
battle
contradictory
reaction
way of doing it.
The dark heart.
Which is why, like, the far left accounts of like, we need this sort of, this spontaneous workers movement to overthrow the system, and that we need to develop class consciousness. The response from like Soc Dems and reformists is like, well, that's ridiculous. That will never happen. As opposed to my plan, which is to reform the DNC, which is like, well, the DNC exists and we can take it over. The main problem with that is that, like, fundamentally, those reformist projects are incoherent. You're trying to take the capitalist state and use it in a way that it logically cannot function as. It's like a logical contradiction. So that's, again, this division between like the anti-reformist position, which is still incredibly unlikely and absurd. It's very difficult to imagine it could happen in the time it needs to, but at least it could happen, is the point. That's the response by like people who think that the primary goal now is to push Joe Biden to the left and get the DNC to be like some sort of socialist institution. Is like, that is literally contradictory. That is incoherent.
Part of America's, white maleness.
You're
discounted.
You're automatically playing a game that's lost. It's not like it's super, super difficult and far away. It's already lost inherently. Whereas the non-reformist game is very difficult, but it is one that can be won.
Activism of any meaningful sign. You've discounted the labor movement as just another interest group. That's what the New Left in the 60s and the emergent like Atari Democrats agreed on, which was the consensus left position in amongst this new like post 60s.
Does it not make sense to say that the liberal state has no innate inertial capacity to resist fascism? On the other hand, institutional power is so strong and unable to. Well, that's to imply that fascism has the same relationship to liberalism that communism does, and it doesn't.
Collegiate liberal and left milieu was that the unions are just another interest group, if not an upholder of racism and patriarchy. And they've stood fast with that 40 years later, and now they have no interest in using labor as a mobilizing tool against reaction. They have no interest in doing anything other than voting for Democrats. But they know now in their hearts that voting for Democrats will never get them. So what they want now is they want to do the only thing that they think can work. And that is, because they are media creatures one way or another, and they've decided in their hearts that activism consists of yelling at people until they do what you told them to do, that all they can do is insist as loudly as possible that this is something you should care about. So that will just transubstantiate people into, like, transubstantiate regular Democrats into donors and, on the fence, like, liberals into committed Democrats and people who don't vote but are part of a oppressed minority that should instinctively vote for Democrats will be snapped into consciousness. They will be phase shifted.
And also, of course, there's a command for it. We just did an interview with Matt that came out. It was the last QAnon Anonymous episode.
Into a consciousness as like a self-conscious Democratic voter. And then they will win because they will have too many votes. There will be too many places to steal it from, and they'll have to give power. And the only way that can come about is by yelling, by getting people, by presenting yourself emotionally. Now that's one part of it. There's another more important part for anybody who's at the top of this media totem pole, or rather even in the middle. If you're getting money from the political media as we understand it, your calculus is different. It's more self-consciously self-interested and less like psychological coping mechanism.
All right, well, I'll see you on their stream. Should be great, good times. So I'll stream a couple more hours just with them. So, really you're getting more of me than anything else.
All cops are bad cops.
Hi.
So yeah, everyone get in because you're just gonna watch me. Yeah, and here's the link to this, obviously the Kush vlog. And yeah, See ya.